If you've ever said that defense wins championships, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Welcome back. Happy Monday. Futures are Eagles green across the board. Fly, Eagles, fly. We got a big day coming up here with perhaps a big week ahead of it. It's Monday. Benzinga's pre-market playbook is back. Let's dive right in. Good morning, folks, and welcome back to Benzinga's pre-market playbook. We're back bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on a Monday, and we're ready to go. I'm going to start with Sebastian's comment right here. Sebastian, good morning. So Ryan has a hangover from the Super Bowl, I guess. No, sir. No, sir. No drinking on Sunday. We have to be ready. But I will say, Ryan is flying high on emotion. That was awesome from start to finish yesterday. I also had great food all day. I have nothing to complain about. We're starting off Monday exactly in the right kind of mood. Sebastian, good morning. It's great to have you back. Market Sniper. First today, hashtag first market sniper. I got a feeling today is going to be a good day for you. Federico, welcome back. It's great to see you as always. Paul, welcome back. How are you doing, man? Sun-kissed Yogi, welcome back. Good to see you. Conditionally accepted. Good morning. Florida yacht insurance guy, one of my favorites. Absolutely love it. Good morning from Florida. Hopefully the weather's nice down there. Couch Potato, good morning. Great to see you. Son of God, Fishermen of Men, welcome back. World for Everyone, welcome back. I like that handle. Good morning, Chuck. Welcome back. Bernhard, welcome back. Yassine, it's great to see you. Jim Ferrari, one of the best last names I've ever seen. Welcome back, Jim. Seahorse Trading, welcome back. River and Tom, welcome back. James, welcome back. Hustle and Bustle. Ooh, Fly, Tariffs, Fly. That's an interesting title. Let's see how we shake out this week. I may have to Control-C, Control-V that from you. We'll see. Sergeant Sexy is checking in. So today we're ready to go. Philip, good morning. JJ, good morning. 3D, buenos dias. Good morning, 3D. Welcome back. Diamond Hotline. Good morning. Welcome back. Ryan, good morning. Welcome back. Great name, by the way, Ryan. If I've never told you that before, I think I have, but that's really a great name. Shout out to you. Sideshow, good morning. Crimp Biscuit, good morning. Urban, good morning. VTS, good morning. Captain Cloudy, good morning. Day Trader, welcome back. Tanya, welcome back. And we are off, folks. As mentioned, futures, Eagles green across the board here. S&P futures up by almost 0.5% here, 0.48%. Dow futures up almost 0.5%, 0.46%. And NASDAQ leading the way higher at 0.7 here. So green across the board on this Monday morning. And I was just talking to the producer before coming on here, and we just kind of feel like everyone's euphoric that the Chiefs lost. Does seem like people were kind of tired of that. There's always talk every year about the Monday after the Super Bowl being a national holiday because so many people just kind of want to unwind. I will say if you were hoping for a competitive game, it was a little bit rough, but enjoyable nonetheless. And some of the stories that we're going to talk about here today have to do with the game. Of course, we're going to have the discussion on the commercials as well as always. We are going to start off here with the SPY, though. First things first, we are still in the Trump channel. That is the green shaded channel that we have here. The good news with the green arrows today and trading up by about 0.5% here in the pre-market. We do look to bounce towards the top end of the range. And it appears as if we're bouncing from this 50-day. Now we have this 50-day and this 20-day kind of converging right around 600. So right away, when we talk about key levels here on the SPY, one of the ones we want to watch is going to be the amalgamation of levels right around 600. Definitely, we want to pay attention to 600. And in fact, the 20-day moving average has a value right now of exactly 600. That's great to see. The 50-day moving average is down there at 598.5. So I think that this entire level here should provide some pretty good support. It's worth noting if we look inside at the chart from Friday, the lows, I know Friday, as far as like the indexes looked, Friday actually looked to be a pretty weak day. I don't know about you folks and what you folks were trading. I actually had a great day on Friday. We had some day trades identified here early, had some stuff that worked towards the end of the day, but nonetheless here, the SPY really did a good job holding 600 in the regular session, tried to kind of retest that in the after hours and then held again. Now, today, even with tariff news that broke from Air Force One on Super Bowl Sunday, we're going to talk about that here in a little bit too, the market is still green here today. So, question that I have for you, and we're obviously going to monitor today, are we able to hold these green arrows? Do we reverse? Do we trade back down to any of these support levels? Remember, some of the pattern that we've kind of seen recently, if it's not just kind of a sideways, low volume, not really a lot happened day, it seems to be the inverse of what we are in the pre-market. That is to say, if we gap down in the pre-market like we have the past 2 Mondays on DeepSeek and then tariff news, we end up trading up that day and then also the rest of the week. This week, though, we're actually gapping up here, albeit not that much. We are actually gapping up here. So I want to see if that holds. Do we reverse here today? In addition to the tariffs that we're about to talk about on steel, Trump also said that he's planning on introducing more retaliatory tariffs on Tuesday and Wednesday. So I really think that although we're staring at some green arrows here today, I suspect that some of the tariff headlines and some of those things that come out are actually going to play into the volatility that we're going to see later this week. But nonetheless, for today, downside level 598.50 to 600. That entire area should be some pretty thick with 3 C's support there. And then the top end of the range here is going to be right up around, what is this, 612? We'll see if we get there today. Honestly, at this point, I think we want to see if we can take out the high from Friday, which is 608.13. Let me make sure I get that number exactly right here. 608.13 right there on the head. So that is going to be one of the upside levels that I want to check out here today. Downside levels 600 down to 598.5. Okay, now let's go talk about some of the news stories. We do have some tweets to share with you. I want to get the table set for everything that we're looking at here today. We have earnings this week. We're going to go ahead and take a quick look at that as well. First story here, this is going to be regarding the broader market here. This morning, we actually saw Monday, go figure, Monday.com reports their earnings on, wait for it, you guessed it, Monday morning. Of course, they have a case of the Mondays. The good Mondays is that stock's trading up. We can take a look at that. McDonald's also reporting here this morning. So we're expecting some pretty big components to report here today. Again, I already kind of covered it. We do have some green arrows here. We do have some tariff news that broke over the weekend. And then we have the CPI print coming on Wednesday morning. So a lot of stuff to kind of get through here on this Monday. Now, we're going to go to our friend of the show, Ryan Dietrich. I'm going to go ahead and share the tweet here. Monday and Friday have been quite bad for stocks so far in 2025, but the other 3 days have been pretty solid. So here's a graphic of that. Now, I will say, though, like we kind of just discussed, these last 2 Mondays prior to today have really kind of skewed this because we've had these huge gap downs on pretty big news, right? The tariff news, and then before that, the DeepSeek news, which pretty much hit the entire AI space, which has been carrying the market to where it's at right now. So if you're going to play the trend, if you're going to play the stats, if you're going to play the odds, it sure looks like Monday and Friday down days. Those are days where there are buying opportunities, because the other days there, Tuesday, especially Wednesday, where are you at, Voodoo? Wiggle Wednesday. Remember that? Seems to be one of the greenest days here today. So factor this into your trading plan. If you're looking to do some short-term day-to-day or, multi-day swings here, factor this in. This is kind of what we're seeing here today. Ryan Dietrich doing a great job, as always, breaking down a lot of these stats here. Okay. The next story that I want to go to, let me just make sure that I didn't miss anything here. Excuse me. Mad Money, good morning. It's great to see you again. Reaching Financial Freedom. And Larry, good morning. Jay Walker, good morning. Okay, Super Green Day, do a poll. Jay Harris, we are going to do a poll. I believe the producer already has an idea there. Good morning, Brandy. Good morning, Gary. VTS, good morning. Jonathan Cooper, good morning. Chuck in the Street, good morning. And Marcus Aurelius Energy, good morning. Okay, let's keep going here. The Eagles fly over the Chiefs 40-22. This was an absolute beatdown of epic proportion. The score doesn't even tell the story. It was more of a beatdown than that. Chiefs didn't even score a point in the first half. As far as some of the stats go here, this is some of the stuff that I wanted to cover. And then I also wanted to dive into some of the commercials. That's going to be the next story that we're going to talk about. And I want to monitor some of those companies here today and see if there are trade setups from them. There might not be, but that's something to look into here. Real quick, as far as the data goes, last month, Brian Steinberg of Variety.com, noted that Nielsen's big data and panel now officially measures total audiences. Super Bowl LVII drew 123.7 million viewers, ranking as the second most watched U.S. television television program in U.S. history. Good Lord. After the 1969 moon landing, even with a 10% boost to 136.7 million, that's still far from the U.S. population of 335 million. So this Super Bowl here, highest watch, it looks like they had a boost there just shy of 137 million. And as you can see, that's actually less than half of the United States population. So one of the most popular events, still drawing less than half. You know, I should have prepared this. This is totally my fault. I should have compared this to some of the bigger Joe Rogan podcasts, just to give you an idea of how big some of these podcast audiences are getting. I might actually do that here when I get another sec off screen, just to kind of compare that. But nonetheless, some really good eye-popping numbers here for the Super Bowl. And I would imagine that if you didn't have a rooting interest in either of the two teams, you probably turned it off at halftime because it wasn't that great of a game in terms of its competitiveness. It was kind of a rout. Obviously, there were a bunch of celebrities there. They pretty much showed celebrities the entire game. I mean, the story here mentions Taylor Swift and Donald Trump. Donald Trump, of course, the first sitting president to attend the game. Those were two, but there were many more. There were many more celebrities that were there. They were showing them all game long. What I really wanted to get to here were some of these numbers. So Fox Sports sold out its premium advertising inventory months before the game, with some spots commanding $8 million for a 30-second ad. $8 million for a 30-second ad. That's crazy. According to Fox Sports Executive Vice President Mark Evans, the high-stakes advertising playground attracted major tech companies and traditional brands, along with artificial intelligence emerging as a dominant theme. Now, that part surprises nobody. I expected there to be a lot of stuff about AI. Notable advertisers included Alphabet, which is Google. Google faced scrutiny for claims in its Gemini ad. Salesforce, they had a commercial featuring Matthew McConaughey. I'll be honest, they had an Uber Eats Bears themed Matthew McConaughey commercial. I think the joke there is that his Texas accent, you can't really get rid of it to make it do the Dick Bears thing. I don't know. Not my favorite, but that was there. Star-studded spot featuring Chris Pratt and Chris Hemsworth. Did see that for the Meta Ray-Bans, the glasses there. And a significant Super Bowl advertising, Nike broke its 27-year hiatus with a women-empowered themed commercial. So number of brands there. Again, I would like to hear from you folks. Were there any commercials that surprised you? Were there any commercials that really kind of stood out? Might that affect trading? Are you looking to play anything off of some of these commercials? Just kind of curious. And then some of those commercials, just to kind of dive in a little bit more. We had the Google ad that was basically a father. The AI was helping him prepare for a job interview. Pretty good feels there, I suppose. we mentioned some of the other commercials here. I actually thought the Chris Hemsworth meta commercial, I thought that was pretty funny. The one where they're in the museum and there's like the wax statue and they knock the head off of it. I don't know. I chuckled. We talked about the Nike ad there. There was a T-Mobile Starlink ad, so it'll be interesting to see how this stuff does. So let me know, first of all, vote in the poll. Thank you, producer. Vote in the poll. What was your favorite part of the game? The commercials, the halftime show, or you didn't watch? And then as an aside, what commercials did you end up liking? Do you think that there's anything that you would trade on this? Does this move you to invest or trade differently? I'm curious. And then how many of you actually avoided the commercials? Let me see. Let's see. Do a poll. Got you. VT, we already said that. Okay. Jonathan Hunt, I didn't watch the game. LOL. We'll let you off the hook, Jonathan. We're still glad that you're here. Michael says, I didn't watch the game at all. Okay. There you go. Have even avoided the commercials, says Michael. Okay. I couldn't stop watching the Chiefs game. Day trader. You and me were probably the same person there. Taylor Swift got booed. That was eye-opening, but kind of funny. And then the halftime show. So maybe it's just because I'm older. And you know what? If that's the case, that's the case. Maybe it's just because I'm older, but I actually didn't really understand the halftime show all that much. Apparently, there's beef going on with Kendrick Lamar and Drake. I don't know what it is. I'll be honest with you, I don't really care. So if that was part of the halftime show, I completely missed it and didn't really get it because I don't really follow personal drama like that. The only thing I did notice from the halftime show is that the colors were like American themed. And that kind of stood out because that hasn't been the case in the past, and thought that was kind of cool. But as far as some of like the deeper stuff in it, I'll be honest with you, I just don't get it. I'm ignorant of it. So maybe someone, and probably explaining it in chat is probably not the best way to go because rapper beef probably runs deep. That might not be the best time to explain it, but I'll see if I can kind of get up to speed on what the beef is. I'd like to know what you folks thought of the halftime show. Okay. Lots of tax dollars spent on security. Bet that place was crawling with the Secret Service. Yeah, no question. They probably scouted it out. Remember, the Secret Service seems to actually be doing their job now. So probably pretty good. And then obviously Trump got cheered there. So I don't know what that's going to mean going forward, and I certainly don't have a trade off of that, but definitely was interesting to see here. So as far as some of these ads go, let me know. Let me see. Did you guys mention any of that? Watch YouTube. Hellcat says older. I'm 55. Look, Hellcat, when I get called being too old just because I'm on the internet. Some people say I'm too old or make fun of me all the time. I just run with it, frankly. I call it experience, right? It's not really an insult. Don't know, don't really care about the beef. That's kind of what I was thinking. I used the halftime show to get a drink, get comfortable for the second half. Larry's saying it's the worst halftime show ever. Okay. Stay focused. Good morning. One of the worst Super Bowls since the Bills versus Dallas in the early 90s. Stay focused. Unpopular opinion, but I actually think that game would have been way more competitive if it was Bills Eagles, but that's just me. Okay. So anyway, we'll see. I'm curious to know. We'll see if there's any type of trade from this, going forward. I don't have anything lined up, although I am kind of watching Google. I want to see how that responds today. Now, the other thing that might be moving the market a little bit more here, maybe not today, but then also this week, we also got tariff news. So from what I understand, I wasn't really following world events and politics this weekend. I was seeing family, having some fun, and then obviously preparing for this game. So I took a little bit of a break. But as I understand it, Trump was playing golf with Tiger and Charlie Woods Sunday morning, then got an Air Force One to go to the Super Bowl, and at some point on the plane talked about tariffs on aluminum and steel imports. Okay, so that's kind of the news here. President Trump announced on Sunday that he will impose 25% tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports, adding to existing duties and a further escalation of his trade policy. While this could impact domestic steel and aluminum companies, investors can consider the following list of exchange-traded funds to follow the development. So we gave you some ETFs in here. But the other thing that I want to kind of talk about is some of the steel names, right? So here's X, right? United States Steel. Looks like this is up 4% here in the pre-market. Cleveland Cliffs, right? Ticker CLF. That's also up here. This up 8.5% in the pre-market here. I want to take a look at Nucor here. This is up 7.26%. So some of these U.S. steel names trading higher here on the back of that news doesn't seem to be all bad for stocks here. Maybe that's part of the reason we're still green here this morning. I think one of the big takeaways here is this going to escalate? I know we just kind of had the whole thing with Canada and Mexico. From my understanding, these tariffs do apply to those countries. So we'll see how that shakes out. And then the other thing, I hope, that we learned a kind of a group lesson from the last time some of this tariff news came out. The tariff news coming out is only one part of it. What happens next is also part of it, and that's also something to watch. He said in this exact same interview that they were going to float some more tariffs later this week on Tuesday or Wednesday. In fact, so here, Trump spoke to reporters on Air Force One and said he would reveal new tariffs on Monday, followed by reciprocal tariffs on Tuesday or Wednesday, matching the rates imposed by other countries. So there you go. And how this is going to affect the market and how this is going to change the calculus of everything is going to be a top watch of the week. We've got that. We've got the CPI on Wednesday, and then we have a whole boatload of earnings coming up this week. One or a combination of all three of those things is going to dictate how the market performs, and we're going to have to do the calculus on all of those levers. Okay. So here, and producer, I'm assuming that you are giving out all of these articles if anyone wants to go through them some more. We've got some more tweets for you to go through here, but lots of stuff. This should all affect the market here today. And we're giving you some stocks to trade here as well on that, both ETFs and individual names, some stuff to watch there. So appreciate you, producer. Okay. Let's go back. I'll go back. I know you guys have a lot of comments there. I can't necessarily read them all. When the comments are long, I can't necessarily break off what I'm doing to read them. But I will go back and do that as soon as I get some time here. Last story that I wanted to talk about here involves Tesla, and then we'll go ahead and start taking a look at some of these charts, as well as the charts that you folks want to look at. In fact, I see a number of you are mentioning Nike already. Let me go ahead and add that to the list here, and we'll definitely break that down like a fraction. Now, Tesla. All right. Tesla CEO Elon Musk, the VP of Finance, addressed allegations of tax fraud. Losses were high for many years, so we carry forward. So what's going on here? Okay. CEO Elon Musk and the Vice President of Finance, Sendil Palani, I hope I pronounced the gentleman's name correct, addressed allegations of the EV company evading taxes in a post on X over the weekend. The company did not evade tax, but carried it forward as per an Internal Revenue Service provision, they said. Okay, so Musk called for tax reform in a post on social media on Saturday, claiming there are too many, quote, loopholes. This is a common complaint. This is definitely not new. I've heard people on both sides of the aisle talk about removing loopholes, having too many loopholes as far as tax goes for years. So none of this is really new. He's just kind of shining some more light on it. Following the post, several ex-users noted that in his EV company, Tesla did not pay federal income tax for several years, including in 2024. Quote, Tesla losses were high for many years, so carry forward. Supermajority of profits is from production and sales overseas, not the U.S. But the point I'm making is that we need tax reform. So again, Elon Musk was tweeting here, but then came Sendil Palani. And I will say that definitely had to report a murder here. Okay, had to call the police, had to report a murder here because Robert Reich got absolutely body bagged by this gentleman. Here's the tweet exchange. In fact, if you want this tweet, I'll go ahead and throw this in the chat. But here we go. Robert Reich saying Tesla earned $2.3 billion in the United States in 2024. You'd think it paid a lot in taxes, right? Well, it paid precisely zero in federal income taxes last year. You want waste and fraud? This is a target for the Department of Government Efficiency, which is clearing out a bunch of fraud. Look at what some big corporations and the rich are getting away with. And so the VP of Finance here responds, Professor, respectfully, that's more than I could have done. Tesla's income taxes are not an example of fraud. Tesla complies with all tax regulations in all the regions of the world in which we operate, which is no easy task, by the way, for any multinational company. Details about the 2024 income taxes were disclosed last month in our 10K. Notably, we outlined our net operating loss carry forwards, which results from the fact that Tesla had been unprofitable for a significant majority of its 20-plus year history. This has been a very, very difficult business to build. Looking at any one of our recent years in isolation, therefore, will not provide the full picture, and then gives you an actual link to the filing filed with the SEC. Absolutely body bagged. And it's good, too, because companies, especially humongous companies like this, often have to go through quite a bit. I mean, there was a time even when Amazon was, the talk on CNBC was, well, the company's not profitable and they're spending all of this money and this, that, and the other thing. And there was a larger vision going on that Jeff Bezos was executing on. And then one quarter, they just turn on the profit jets and the rest is history. No one really needs to dive into the history of Amazon's price to know how that performed. So I'm glad to see more and more people in higher positions, and not just the blowhards that you hear all the time. Like, it's one thing to hear from Trump and Elon all the time, but I really enjoy hearing from more of these C-suite executives getting involved and telling people what's going on. I think as traders, take this company out of it for just a sec, but just as traders, having people high up in the business coming out and giving you stuff, especially links and things like that you can investigate yourself, I think this is only a positive. I can't possibly have a negative takeaway from that. So really good to see here. And it's really good to see someone that runs his mouth an awful lot get absolutely put in his place. That's really great. Now, whatever happens with the Doge stuff and the tax money already paid, I'll let that shake out. I'm not going to make any predictions on that. Okay, that's pretty much all I got here for the news. There wasn't really a whole lot. A lot of it was about the Super Bowl. A lot of it was about some of those commercials. But you folks are doing great by coming up with some tickers to take a look at here. We'll definitely start with with Nike. We do have some movers to go over. We're going to wait for 13 to get there, and then we're going to go ahead and break down that complete list as we do that. So starting with Nike, which did have a spot yesterday, or did have an ad yesterday. Let me see what you folks said here. Ryan said, did Nike go big with an advert? I bought on the recent 52-week low. So yes, they did. They did have an ad. The only one that I can remember, it did seem to be kind of an all-in on female sports. It was like the high school, it was like for flag football, I believe. And it was the girls team tryouts, basically sticking it to the varsity male football players. I don't really think too much of the ad. I guess now that I'm kind of thinking about what this does going forward, I'm kind of indifferent on it. I mean, Nike's up here just shy of 1% here. And I'll be honest, the level to me seems way more important than the fact that it's up 1% here. I don't really have a takeaway from the ad at all. My takeaway comes from the chart here. We had a very, very clear support. And in fact, I actually traded this, right? And I told you guys about it. It was this candle right here. The January 16th candle was the entry trigger. We got a nice hammer that formed off of that support. Well, what you'll see here is that on Friday, we actually lost that completely. We lost this support. And this was a 1, 2, 3. You could call this a quadruple bottom going all the way back to July of last year. So this was a very, very key support that got lost on Friday. Now, today, I understand that we're up 1% here on pretty light volume, But what we're going to really need to do here today is recapture 70. I got to think that we got to recapture that. Now, I did end up drawing some trend lines on here. The top trend line comes from one that 13 gave of the entire group here. And the bottom one is the same thing. Basically, what we do, we want to recapture two things. We want to recapture this trend line. So far, we have in the pre-market. Do we close above that is still yet to be seen. But more so than that, we really need to get back above 70 and then even 71. This support, this 70 to 71 support, was extremely strong support for Nike. Now that we've lost it, if we cannot recapture this support in short order, and by short order, just to be specific, I mean either today or tomorrow. If we cannot recapture this, this is now new resistance, and it should be some pretty significant resistance, and lower we should go. Next target I have to the downside is going to be 60. Now, Given that we are low RSI, so we are set up to bounce here, and we've bounced from this area before. The stock is no stranger to that. So, Ryan, as far as your trade goes, it looks like you're trying to actually trade this off of this level again. We have some pretty clear indications of whether or not this is going to work, right? If we can recapture that 70 to 71 area, giddy up, you should be in great shape. If we can't, we might see some more weakness here. This stock might actually roll over and go print 60s. So that's kind of where I'm at with Nike. Let's see. I think there was another question here on Nike. You guys were talking about Tesla. It was that was an NFL flag commercial, so it wasn't directly Nike. Okay, so was there another one then? I think I almost want to say that there were two commercials that had Nike in it. But you're right about that, Nick. They were actually advertising the NFL flag football. I gotta say, I can't wait for flag football to become an Olympic sport. Maybe I'm in the minority on that, but I think that's going to be really cool. So we'll see how that shakes out, but that's just kind of an aside. Okay. Let's see. Did I miss anything else? Did that secondary? Okay. My average is just under 70. May cut the trade today. Okay. So Ryan, it sounds like you have a pretty decent, trade plan here. Again, totally see the playing off of the support level, but we did break that. So if we can't recapture it, might be 60 next, and then maybe even, what do we have beneath that? 50, 51. We'll see. Nike in a very, very clear downtrend since November of 2021. So, okay. Really good stuff there. What else do you folks want to do? What else do you folks want to take a look at? HG saying Nike is dead money. I'll be honest, I was just trading Nike a couple of weeks ago, and it was pretty good. It was using calls to do that, by the way. Jane said, I loved the Nike ads. There we go. And so Jane, there were more than one, right? There's another. I'm remembering, as Nick pointed out, I might be remembering that flag football episode, or excuse me, that flag football commercial, but there might have been another one. Remind me on that. Brandy saying Tesla sales are tanking and will continue to do so. You can't drive EVs without a good charging system. Not happening now, and they just told states to stop building them. Brandy, that sounds like an EV across the board issue there. That's one of the very fair points that was brought up about EVs. And all of that. So that's actually a pretty good point. And the other thing, remember, as far as Tesla goes, Tesla viewed by many as not just a car company, but also a tech company. Stay focused, saying Nike headwinds ahead. Stay focused. What are those? Probably tariff related, huh? I would imagine. Okay. Eyeball saying Nike or Intel, buy or no? We just covered the chart. What do you think based on what we just talked about? I can't tell you what to buy or what to sell. Sorry about that. Okay, Palantir, BBAI, and MX. Let's take a look at those here real quick. How did Palantir do, or how is Palantir doing off of that recent move here? Interesting. Okay, so we actually talked last week about Fibonacci's. And we talked about retracements versus extensions and finding levels above. Someone in here asked a question on how do you find levels for a stock like Palantir that has just continued to trade up and go higher here. And so one of the things that we used was Fibonacci extensions, and I did this on Palantir as an example. It's really great to see it work out this well. Okay, so on Friday, we actually have a pretty nasty candle here. I have to ask Scott next time we see him. This might be a red dog reversal right up here. Anyway, had a huge push above the 114 level, totally reversed here on Palantir. Now we're up about 1.5%, just shy of 1.5% here in the pre-market. So we'll see where we end up going on Palantir. Just from looking at the chart here, a couple of levels, 114.34 to the upside. And then this 103.5 area to the downside. But before we get there, let's see if we can hold the lows from last Friday. So I want to take a look here. 110, I would almost call this, 110 to 111. This is going to be a pretty interesting support here for Palantir. If this stock reverses at all today, whether the market reverses entirely or if it's just Palantir, can it hold 110 to 111? This might clear it for some more upside if we're able to do that. One other thing to keep in mind here on Palantir, we are cooked with this RSI. 80.5 on the daily chart. Let's see what that is on some. It's even crazier on some of the larger time frame charts. 83 on the weekly and 92 on the monthly. Look at this. Look how vertical Palantir is here. So I'm with you guys. Look, I love the stock. We talk about it all the time. I like the company. I'd love to have a long-term position on this company. Shame on me for not holding my shares from a long time ago and trying to rely on upside trades that were just option-based. Now I'm left with no stock as Palantir continues to trade up. So we'll see if this reverses. We'll see where it reverses. 114.5 might be one of your upside levels to watch here today. And then, of course, I also think that, especially given the potential reversal candle we put in on Friday, I also think that if the market becomes shaky at all here today, you could see Palantir roll over and maybe test some of those areas to the downside. So this one, not bad to watch. Especially for a potential move. You know what this kind of reminds me of? And this, I might get myself in trouble for saying this, but here goes. This kind of reminds me of Kava. And not in the sense, not like a comparison of business to business. I mean, Mediterranean fast food couldn't be any different than AI security and defense. I get it. I'm just talking about some of the price action here. Kava just seemed to continue to go and go and go. And I understand that it's popular and I understand that it's trendy, but at some point, fundamentals are going to mean something here. Kind of feel like the same thing here is going on with Palantir. Now, when Kava did eventually crack, it did roll over and give a pretty decent trade, right? 173-ish here to 110. So 60 points. How much of a percentage basis is that? That's a pretty healthy pullback. This is a 37% pullback from November 13th to January 13th. So in a 2-month time, stock pulled back nearly 40%. I'd love to see, and it's worth noting, by the way, that Kava did kind of bounce off of this level, right? It's trading back up here now. I'd love to see something similar with Palantir. I don't know if we'll get that. Some spots to look at here so far, though. 114.5, and then the low from Friday. All right, good stuff there, Palantir. Now, BBAI, we talked about this last week. Also, I know several of you folks are throwing around potential Palantir competitor. And while I'd ask and remind folks to pump the brakes maybe a little bit on that, the stock has really been performing, right? So let's factor in everything. By the way, BBAI here in the pre-market up 8.85%. Had a huge day on Friday. Really stopped at this 925 level that we identified. I think that we were on here. I can't remember if we did this on the morning show or if we did this on happy hour. I got to think it's the morning show because more of you folks trade this name than in the happy hour. But anyway, I'm pretty sure that we did these levels here together, and BBAI going to some of those levels. So we had a massive day here on Friday. Grats to anyone. Give you some post registerings there. Congrats to anyone that traded this. Here we are again. Looks like we're trying to gap here a little bit and hold this area. So as far as key areas go, you guessed it, 925 definitely going to be one of those areas we want to hold. 950 giving us very clear resistance here in the pre-market. We'll see if we can take that off here today or take that level out here today. So BBAI, this is on a huge run. We didn't have any news over the weekend, did we? Nope. This is all stuff from last week. So nothing fresh here news-wise. BBAI continuing to trade on relative volume and also just momentum here. What did we have in the RSI? Okay, RSI here, again, very similar to Palantir. Completely cooked on the daily RSI here, 81.5. Weekly looks similar. And the monthly looks similar, although not as exaggerated as the Palantir move up here. Some other levels to watch for any of you here. Let me zoom out so you can see where we got these from. We were talking about the 925. I guess if we have another huge run today, 1050 is another level that we've identified from what looks like a shoulder line here, going all the way back to 2022. And then some more downside levels. You can see where we ended up getting those. There was a consolidation area when the stock first came public. So there we go. BDAI. Love seeing the volume here. At some point, this may turn around, but this stock definitely en vogue right now, at least so far. So we'll see what kind of trades we get here on BBAI. Okay, that was, and then MX here. 3D wants to take a look at MX, Magnachip Semiconductors. Okay, so I'm not familiar with this one. Let's take a look at the price action here on the daily chart. So we have a smaller semiconductor company here that's really kind of been in a downtrend since 2021. Now, the good news here, it does look like it bottomed, right? Certainly looks like this has multiple attempts at making a bottoming formation here. We gapped up and traded to the 200-day and then could not quite take that out. So as far as the next trade here, just from looking at the chart, I'll go through some of the news and some of the stats here in a sec too. To me, this is very, very clear. The one thing that we're trying to do here to change the entire momentum or the entire direction of where this stock is going is going to be that 200-day moving average. Even on the days where we traded above it, we were really unable to get a close above it. So that's clearly one of the things that we're going to need here. Better still if we can get 3 closes above it, because that will really turn that into some pretty good support. We've outlined on a number of different names how important that 200-day moving average is when you can actually use that as support and resistance. So again, I'm not necessarily familiar with this company. I've seen here, it looks like when this thing pops, I'm guessing that was on earnings or something like that. Yeah, it looks like that was back in October, that one from October. When does this report earnings? This is unconfirmed. Okay, we'll reach out to the news desk and see if we can get confirmation here. They're set to report in the next week or two here. So, it'll be interesting to see if we get that report. Again, I'm sorry, I don't necessarily follow this one. Short interest, pretty negligible here. 4 days to cover, but only 1.6% of the float shorted here. I would imagine this really wouldn't be a squeeze at all. Stock trades on average 230,000 shares, so not very liquid. Float of 36 million. Don't see any recent Magnachip explores sales. So we had some news here from February about exploring a sale, held talks with Samsung and others. So this is a potential buyout play. Interesting. My question would be, what is the technology portfolio here? Or what are people buying out? And what might that premium be? Looks like this did pop on news of a potential sale. But I don't have any line on that. Let's see if we can get above the 200-day on this one first. I'll go when I get some more time. I can go ahead and read into this and see if there's anything here. But anyway, new stock we haven't really looked at all that often. Appreciate bringing this one to the group here. What else did we have here? Kip, how about KOPN? Isn't that just like a penny stock? like some $1.81. Let's go back. I don't really see that moving here. I'm not really sure what's going on. I want to cover some of the bigger stocks here. Adit, you were asking about PanW. Okay, so we're going to go into PanW, but really quick, I'm going to actually tie this to other earnings that we are expecting here this week. Let's take a look ahead at the earnings calendar. PanW, of course, reports Thursday after the close. This is definitely going to be that. Thursday after the close is going to be the biggest day of earnings, and PanW, I think, is going to be the biggest print there. The other one that's close to that is going to be Coinbase. Be interesting to see what Bitcoin does between now and then how Coinbase ends up reporting there. But a look ahead, a bunch of big earnings here. We did have McDonald's and Monday this morning. We do have a couple after the close here today, but nothing really huge, I don't think. PSEC, that Prospect Capital, they pay a monthly dividend. That's one that I've been holding for a while and enjoying that monthly dividend. We'll see how they report here. Hopefully we don't have another NEP situation. Good Lord. Tomorrow before the open, we've got Shopify and Coca-Cola and Humana. Those will be interesting reports. And then after hours, we have Lyft. Now, remember, I'm still in those Lyft calls there. Those were the April calls. I would absolutely love a great report from Lyft. That would be pretty good. Might actually be able to book some of those and then hold the trailer for the bigger move. On Wednesday, Biogen and CVS in the morning, and in the afternoon, looks like Cisco and HubSpot and Robinhood going to be your big ones. And then Thursday is the big day there. Honda and Sony in the morning, and then Palo Alto, Twilio, DraftKings, and Coinbase at night. That's going to be your big day. Moderna reports earnings on Friday morning. I'm not going to trade that, but I know several folks in here take a look at that. So that's kind of what we're looking at for earnings here. Adit, you had asked about PanW. This one is awesome. To me, what's coming up here, we have this near-term double top at about 198, but to me, this sure looks like this is making a run towards 200. If we can take 200 out, we do have an all-time high here up about 207.60. Let me get that exact number there for you. I've got that at 207.24. I beg your pardon. That all-time high, I think those are your next two targets to the upside here. Next three targets. I apologize. Next three targets here are going to be 198.25, thereabouts, this double top in here. What do we have that? What's the actual value there? 197.74. Okay. What's this other one? 197.66. Those are really close. So that near-term double top, that's your first spot. Your second spot, round number right at 200. And then your third spot here, the all-time high put in on Tuesday, December 17th. At 207.24. These are the upside levels. I think if PanW breaks that, it actually continues to run. If you take a look at the performance of this stock, this looks rigged, right? This looks rigged in terms of the longs. From left to right, the stock continues to trade up. All pullbacks get bought. I expect nothing else here. Last time we traded this off the 200-day test, and it was golden. You could actually make the argument I might have sold it a little bit too earlier, despite letting a chunk of my call position run up into the mid 190s there. I had those 200 calls. Probably should have left one on as they expired, I think, later this week, right? That was the February contract. That's next week, 11 days from now. Nonetheless, PanW here, I do think this is your best in breed for cybersecurity. This will not be the last time that I trade this here this year. I don't have a position yet for earnings. We just talked with Anne Marie about PanW. I would probably look at that again here, but those are going to be some of my upside levels. Downside level that I would watch here, the low of this candle from Friday, that value's at 191, and then I have the 50-day moving average right beneath that at 188.07. So there you go, Adi. Those are your levels here for PanW. I like this long and strong on PanW. Would look to trade this to the upside. Okay, folks. It's that time. Let's go ahead and bring on 13 and check in with him. 13, how you doing, my man? How was your Super Bowl Sunday?
Oh, it was whatever. I wanted to see a much better game than that. I know that everybody was happy that the Chiefs won. Great. I didn't care about either team, to be honest with you.
The Chiefs did not win.
I'm sorry. I know they wanted to win. I know that folks wanted the Chiefs to win. I know that folks wanted the Eagles to win. I'm indifferent. I didn't care. I just wanted to see a good game. I didn't get that, so it is what it is. I think the commercials were better.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, I was just talking about some of those really quickly. What were your top, not to put you on the spot, but what were your top three commercials?
Let's see. I like the Bud Light one. I can't think of all of them right now, but as the morning goes on, they'll come back to me. But there were a couple others that I laughed pretty good on. I want to get to some of these movers because look at BDRX. This thing's
Okay.
really going right now. Who cares about what I thought about the Super Bowl? Let's trade and make some money. How about that?
Hey, it's one of the biggest events of the year. I will say, I think my favorite commercial, probably the Meta Ray-Ban glasses, where they're in the art museum and they knock the head off the wax figurine.
Different Chris's, yeah.
Yeah, I chuckled, so maybe that one's my favorite. Now that I asked you the question, I'm not sure I have thought about my top three. I'm going to actually give that some thought, and we'll see where we go from there. Also, don't forget to vote in our poll there. I think I know how 13 would be voting based on what he just said. Okay, let's do exactly what you just said. Let's go ahead and talk through the movers. Folks, we will take a look at some of the other stocks that you wanted here. We did take a look at Nike and MX. Let me clear those off. Yeah, ON, I know they reported earnings here today. We'll take a look at that. Sergeant Sexy wanted to look at LAES. Let me add that to the list here. Conditionally accepted, wanted to take a look at A-Lab. We'll add that to the list here. NY Jets. Fan 36, OKLO, thing's been an absolute monster. We'll take a look at this. Stock Profit asking, Ryan, where is this earnings calendar on the BZ platform? So you were referring to this calendar here, right? The graphic one. It's not in the Pro platform, and it's not in the Pro platform because it was created for the purpose of social media. But I know how good looking the graphic actually is. Let me ask you a real quick question here. If I was able to convince the If I was able to convince the developers to maybe add a link in one of the toolbars to the graphic, would that work?
How about a pin? You could pin things in chat and just post it in every chat room and just pin it.
Yeah, the pinning it in chat's not a bad idea either. But I do, because the way he asked the question is why I'm thinking this out loud. Okay. Where is this earnings calendar on the BZ platform? Well, shouldn't it be contained in the existing earnings calendar? That's kind of my thought here. So I'm almost wondering if we put like a little button that takes you to that link or pops it up here as a modal. Maybe you can get that graphic. It's worth noting, by the way, Stock Profit, that the exact same information, and in fact, a lot more, is going to be in this calendar. But yes, not as easy to see as the graphic one that I just shared with you. That's really good feedback. Let me figure out what I can do here on that. All right, real quick. Sorry, 13. Let me make sure I've got all of these here. Uber. I'm getting a ton of yeses. Okay. That was, I'll get to work on that, folks. That'll be one of my priorities for this week. No doubt about it. Okay. Added Uber to the list. 13, we're ready to go. Let's take a look at some of the movers. We're going to start with the one that you mentioned here, BDRX. This is Biodexa Pharmaceuticals. I'm going to tell you what the news is. I'm going to take the quick look around the horn, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. Biodexa Pharmaceutical shares are trading higher after the company announced it received FDA fast track designation for eRAPA. This is one of its drugs. This is right in your wheelhouse. You talk to us about these designations all the time. Short interest here, just shy of 1% of the float shorted with just 1 day to cover. I don't think this has any squeeze potential at all. Float here, oh my goodness. Low float, 668,000 shares in the float. This could be one of the big movers here today. 13, break it down, man. What do you got here on this one?
Yeah, so the fast track designation, that's just going to allow their drug, their eRAPA drug they have for familial adenomatous polyposis. Hope I got that right.
Well done. Now you did better than I could have. I'll tell you, you're brave on a Monday here. Let's go.
So that's what the fast track designation is for. This is not necessarily an announcement of what phase that they're in with this drug, but I took a look at their pipeline. They seem to have already wrapped up or close to wrapping up phase 2. So either we'll hear news about when phase 3 is going to start, or we're going to hear news about them finishing phase 2. So that's all I could extract out of that with the time that I had. But it is a good designation. It's an expedited designation. So it helps get them through the regulatory approval process much quicker. Like you said, 668,000 shares in the float. Company has over 5 million in cash. Didn't get any kind of read on their income statement, so I don't know how much they're burning. But 5 million is, that's not a small amount, so it should at least last them a quarter. But I haven't taken a look to see if they have any offerings that haven't been exercised yet. So we'll have to take this one very carefully, because I'm not sure if they need to do a capital raise anytime soon or not.
Okay, so we've got a low float one here where we're unsure of the finances. I do think we're going to get some type of fireworks. I mean, if the pre-market is any indication about how the regular session is going to go here today, the stock has already kind of been all over the place. Huge impulse move, over 100% move on just that one candle here. Retraced 50% of it, which also brought us back to the VWAP. Let's take a look at the 5-minute chart here and see if we can smooth any of this out. Okay, we didn't get to any of those moving averages yet. And then we went right back towards the highs. So it looks like it's definitely finding some resistance here at 9. Let me hide that. VWAP here at 790, right by 8. We'll see if it finds some support. Get in there.
Yeah, and if you if we do get this to break over that high that it made earlier, it looks like there may be some resistance around 1090. So that would be just one of the earliest upside targets that I see if this breaks the high that it made this morning.
Okay, that will definitely be something for us to watch here. BDRX, one of our top movers. I got this lined up in my broker on another screen here. Should be ready to go right out of the open. Okay, next stock that I have on the list here is going to be PNBK. This is the Patriot National Bank Corp. This stock is still up 60%. This was actually up higher earlier today. Let's see what we have here. I don't have any news on this at all.
Nope.
The last thing that I have here was a Form 8 from January 21st. I am extremely skeptical that that's what's causing the movement here. So I'm just going to kind of ignore it. 1.7% of the float shorted. Now 7.1 days to cover here. This stock on average trades less than 50,000 shares. So I would say that this days to cover measure is actually fairly negligible. I would imagine if something started to happen here, more shares would be traded and you'd be able to cover these up. This low percent of float short has me kind of thinking that that's kind of a non-factor here. Float on this stock, 3 million shares. 13, do you have anything on this one? This seems like a lot of question marks, to be quite honest.
This had some pretty good volume comparatively to how it trades on Friday. So we're getting, this is to me, just another relative volume move.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so I'm with you as far as today goes, but generally speaking, I like to see some of that volume the day before. It doesn't appear that we really got that in any of these sessions. It looks like something's just happening here today. Almost one, maybe this is being passed around. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. I don't know.
Well, no. The past, when you look at in the past on the previous days before Friday, and you can see that we're barely getting over 10,000 shares traded. Sometimes we're not even hitting that. And then on Friday we have 280,000 shares traded. So that is a big change in volume, and that's likely why it's moving, because of that relative volume change.
Okay.
I have nothing else if there's something else going on, but that would be, and the float is 3 million. So.
Oh, wait a sec. Was this a recent split? No, I don't have. The last split date that I have in here is from 2015. So I don't think that's it either. Let me see if there's anything here.
Well, one thing we're gonna want to watch for with this one is if it's going to hold 230. That has been the support level this morning ever since it had that impulsive move through it. Tested as support. Actually, that was Friday when it tested as support, and then it rocketed up to the high of 306, and then, or I'm sorry, I can't tell with this chart if that was the day before. No, this is this morning. So all the impulsive move this morning still had 230 as support. 306 was the resistance. Looking at 230 as support right now. So we start losing that, then probably going down to $2.
And I just checked on the Twitter streets here today. I couldn't find really anyone talking about any type of news. I did see some scanner accounts talking about this moving here, but I don't really see any catalyst. So moving here on some action, ticker PNBK, low float. We'll see where this ends up going here. At 13, I think I really like your 230 spot. That's going to be one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and the company has lots of cash, but it seems like their losses are increasing. So I'm not exactly sure what the appeal is here, but the only thing I can see why anybody's trading this right now is because it got a lot more relative volume on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, I might ask Tim Melvin about this on Wednesday. Provides consumer and commercial banking services to individuals at small and medium-sized businesses, professionals, and municipalities in Fairfield and New Haven counties in Connecticut and Westchester County, New York. So this is the East Coast smaller bank. I'll ask Tim Melvin about it, but there we go. Don't really have a whole lot going on here. Okay, quick check here. Good morning, Shannon. Great to see you. Welcome back, Shannon. You've been around Benzinga for a long time. Welcome. And then Marcus Aurelius is asking, who made the Hims and Hers drug commercial at the Super Bowl? Lily? I'm actually not sure which one you're referencing in there. Help us out. Let us know which commercial Marcus Aurelius is asking about there. Okay, we'll keep moving on here. Next is going to be NLSP. This one does have a catalyst. This is actually a little bit easier to break down here. NLS Pharmaceutics. I know we've traded this one before. This ticker is definitely a repeat scanner ticker here. NLS Pharmaceutical shares are trading higher after the company announced it will join forces with Caddy Mastem, for a diabetes treatment. So getting some diabetes news here. This is up 37% here today to revolutionize diabetes treatment with a multi-layered target approach beyond GLP-1s. Okay, interesting. Quick look around the horn here. Short interest 3.43% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. That's pretty negligible. 2.5 million shares in the float, right where we want to see it. And we've already traded about 20 times the average volume here. 13, do you have anything on NLSP?
I was trying to look and see if I could quickly come up with some, figures. Since this is my understanding is they're merging these two companies, not just expanding their approach to diabetes, but I thought there was some kind of merger. Yeah, there's even earlier news. Okay, so yeah, they have a merger going on to innovate diabetes treatment. Yeah, so I was trying to see if there was some figures we could kind of tack on to figure out where this could go, and couldn't really find anything with the time I had. But 2.5 million shares in the float, really negligible short interest. I think when we may have traded this back over the summer in June and July. And when we did, it didn't get any higher than, or it couldn't close above the 200 EMA on the daily chart. And now we're trying to get above the 65 EMA on the daily chart. The last time this popped up to there was late in last month. Must have been some other news that we were trading on, but it could not close above it. So the 65 EMA, I think, is going to probably suppress the price today in the regular session. Might open over it like I did on the 31st, and then just come right back in. So that's what I'd be watching for, is whether or not this can hold up to the 65 EMA or not, which I currently have at 268. That's a 65 EMA on the daily.
Okay. Awesome. The other company here, Caddy Mastem, that we mentioned here, this is listed on the Israel Stock Exchange, the TASE. So they obviously have some joint venture going there. This stock responding positively. See if we get a trade here. I've got the VWAP at 282. That would be one of the levels I definitely want to see recaptured for a potential trade here today. Okay, really good stuff. Good morning, Izzy. Great to see you're saying there's news on Lyft. We can check real quick. Remember, we do have earnings this week. Did we also get news? We are popping here. This is great to see for our call position. I don't see any news here, Izzy. So maybe it's just trading action here. Volume looks pretty good. We'll come back to Lyft. Let me keep running down the list of movers here. Next one that we had on our list is going to be DOMH. DOMH. This is Dominar Holdings. Stock is up 20% here today. Its big move really came in the after hours on Friday of last week. I have no news on here, so I don't really know what was going on that. I certainly wasn't following this on Friday, as I was not even in my office. Almost no short interest to speak of on either the percent of float shorted or the days to cover. The float right in the wheelhouse area that we like on this show, 4.06 million. And it's already traded 3 times its average volume. 13, I know the list seems like a little bit of slim pickings here. Did you have anything here on DOMH?
I don't see anything that's necessarily moving this, but when I look at the chart, it's like, oh, well, that's an interesting formation. So I don't necessarily know that this is why it's even moving around, but it does look like this is trying to make a new high. We also have a potential golden cross coming. RSI is pretty extended though. I really don't know what to make of this one, but a word of caution on this. They did file for 100 million mixed shelf offering that I have no idea whether or not they have done, executed all of that or not. So that could still be something they do possibly from time to time. Have to read what their filing says, but that would be something I'd be careful about, is that they could just drop an offering at any point.
Okay. Something to watch there. DOMH. I'll be honest, I think I like the BDRX setup a little bit more than this, but we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out here right at the open. Here's one. This is in your wheelhouse. This is ticker SATL, Sat Logic. This is, of course, part of the space theme that you've been doing an unbelievable job covering. You were actually really early on that too. The last piece of news here was the PR that we got Thursday morning. The stock did take a look at it here. The stock actually did trade pretty well since then. We had another update yesterday, and we're gapping up here again in the pre-market here today. Short interest, 2.48%, so 2.5% of the float shorted on one day to cover. Really nothing going on there. Float 17.5 million, and also part of the space theme. So break it down for me, 13. What do we got on this? Got a potential trade here today or what?
Well, a little bit of a thicker float than the ones we were just looking at, but that shouldn't be a problem. It's only 17.5 million shares in the float that we can trade. Brazilian Air Force, huh? I don't know what their budget's like, so I don't know how significant that is, but it's a military contract, so it's a big deal. I see that they are going to do a offering to raise 50 million. That's news from December 20th. I don't know if that's happened or not, but that's another thing to be careful about. Looking at their cash position, it looks like they have 25.5 million now. I don't know if that's in dollars or the Brazilian currency, which I can't think of right now, but
that would be in US dollars since it's a NASDAQ listed stock.
Okay. All right. I don't have any read on their income, so not sure about this one. Let's take a look at the chart and see what that tells us.
Okay. I'm gonna go here to the big chart. I'm actually gonna use while you're breaking this down, I'm gonna use this time to go grab my tea. So I'm gonna be right back here. But real quick, when you're done with SATL, Stocks Market here is saying any plans to give an update on the space watch list. So maybe kind of keep that on the back burner as well. 13, I'll be back here shortly. Just give me 1 second.
Sure. So SATL in the pre-market here looks like we're right on the edge of trying to tick 420. And when I look at the chart, I can see that 420 is a pretty big resistance area that we've had for several, for about a month. The entire month of December looks like that was a big resistance area. We have one day where it popped up, went as high as 549 and came right back in underneath that resistance. So here we are at that big December resistance area, looking to get over it. And if we do, then I'd expect the stock to start trading better. Ryan, I was just mentioning how all of December 420 on the price of SATL was a big resistance area, and we only had one day where we popped above it and we came right back in the next day.
I'm drawing a line right there at 420.
Yeah, so that's
today. Absolutely
that's right where we're at. We break over that, we could see some pretty good movement. We need the volume to match it though.
Okay, there you go on SATL, Stocks Market. I will allow 13 to update his space watch list anytime he wants to do that here today. Let's see. The other? It looks like this was just moving. Someone had mentioned this one in the chat here. Stock profit on this one. This is MNTS Momentous here. We do have news. So Momentous has been awarded a contract expansion by the U.S. Department of Defense organization, DARPA, to conduct an in-orbit demonstration of the assembly of large scale structures. This also should play in pretty well into your space theme here. Again, ticker MNTS, this ripping here now plus 34% on this move here, moving right with the PR. Got some pretty good action here. It looks like 546, your impulse high there. We'll see if we re-challenge that again. Quick look here, 3% of the float shorted on 1 day to cover, pretty negligible there. Let's see if insiders were active in this. Not really. This is the beginning of November. They were doing some option conversions there, but really nothing else. Float 2.77 million here. What do you got, 13?
Well, when I think of large structures in space, there's only one thing that comes to mind: space stations. So I just have to look and see if that's exactly what this is, their business. But when I read the brief description they have, it seems like that kind of is what they're describing here. Space transportation, satellite as a service, and in-orbit servicing. So don't know enough about this company, but this seems like one I could add to the space list after I do a little bit more digging into this.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot on this, to just be honest, but it's a real interesting headline, and it fits within the space theme, and I think we're gonna still see a lot more of these all throughout the year.
The thing that jumps, and this is something I don't expect you to have an answer here. This actually might be something that you kind of uncover in discovery while looking around for this company. But the first thing that has me thinking about this is maybe this also fits into our thing behind the thing, aspect of this, right? If we're talking about, we talked a little bit about Redwire, how that was the nuts and bolts of the space theme. Well, I'm almost wondering then if this is, in orbit assembly of large scale structures, I could imagine multiple companies making components or pods that then need to be assembled in space here. And this to me seems like another one of those players where it's a thing behind the thing, right? They're going to work with a bunch of other companies. And honestly, as far as a trade goes, as far as, an investment goes, I kind of like that angle more than just the individual company, just in general. But that's something to keep an eye on here. I'm curious as to what you uncover here. And I would say this as an aside, please pass me any of that stuff that you're reading so I too can do my homework and be as prepared as you are.
Mr. Forsman has a pretty good take on this, and I do want to kind of comment on it a little bit. He's saying he doesn't think the U.S. building a space station anytime soon. As long as Elon's around, Mars is the next target. So the pushback I have on that is that we are going to be deorbiting the International Space Station, relatively short time frame. I think over the next several years is the plan. In the meantime, China would be the only country that has a space station up there, and I don't think that's going to, be something that is allowed to have happen. I think we're going to be having another push for not just a space station, but for lunar bases, and yes, eventually Mars. I think that's still going to, totally be on SpaceX's radar. Whether or not it's on the United States radar, I don't know. I think I think they're more about the Artemis project right now. So I would push back on a little. I don't think you're wrong, but I would push back on a little bit of that because the competition for space stations is going to be massive once the ISS has to deorbit.
Okay. David here, MNTS is a provider of 3 critical functions in the new space economy: space transportation, satellite service, and in-orbit servicing. To me, that sure seems pretty good. And look at this. We obviously were not the only ones thinking this. Carmen, going to start us off with some money printing early on a Monday. Carmen, you don't have a case of the Mondays, or maybe you do, but they're really good. Loaded up on MNTS last week seemed like a no-brainer. Carmen, where you at telling us about that? Come on, 52-week low for no reason at all. Someone wanted a ton of shares before the good news, and bingo, you're seeing it pop here today. Carmen, well done here. You're going to start with a register ring and a one-up. Make sure you get some of that stuff booked. I love seeing my holdings pop like this on a Monday. Really good stuff there. I would expect nothing less from our group here. And then Izzy was mentioning the reverse split here on that, just to kind of clean those details up. This did do a 1-for-14 reverse split in the middle of December 13th of 2024 there. So we're about just 2 months past that here. MNTS, we actually just lost the VWAP there, so we'll see where this one ends up. Okay. Yeah.
Real quick,
yeah.
they filed to sell 1.5 million shares of Class A stock back in January. I don't know if that's, if they've closed that or not, but you look at the balance sheet, you can see that this is another one of these companies that's going to need to raise money. And when you see that they've already done a filing, it's coming.
You know what's coming. Okay, good stuff there. And then also, just really quickly, I don't know that there's anything else that we really need to cover here. We'll go do ticker time now. Okay. For you folks, we'll take a look at the stocks that you want. But before we move away here, I already talked a little bit about some of those companies that are connected to steel and aluminum based on the tariffs. We talked a little bit about CLF earlier. This is obviously on your list. We talked about BBAI earlier. That's, of course, still on your list. Ondas, I know that this is one that I'm in. Several of you folks have started to trade this. This recaptured 2 here today. We'll see where that goes. SMCI, despite everything that's going on, I know a number of you folks have been trading this one, or at least asking about it. SMCI up here 5.5% here again. You guys were already talking about Lyft. Looks like we did get some news here. Lyft shares are trading higher following a TechCrunch report indicating the company will launch robo-taxis as soon as 2026. So that's pretty interesting. We were expecting, I mean, based on the unusual option trade that I flagged, was it last week or the week before? I can't remember the exact date. I'll have to go back and look at that. But given that, I was expecting something to happen here, maybe not this soon. And I also kind of floated a potential merger or partnership with DoorDash. I don't know if that's coming yet. But anyway, a piece of news here regarding robo-taxis that's popping. Lyft here. We'll see if we get some carry through on that. FFIE, this is another show favorite here. We actually did have some news this morning. Faraday Future's FX brand has shipped the first FX6 prototype mules to U.S. headquarters, kicking off the product development and testing phase.
Kicking off. What a great way.
I mean, well done there, PR writer. Stock is up 4.5% here. We'll see if that gets some carry through. T-Doc and Baba from last week are also trading up here today.
With regard to SMCI, I see that there's a little bit here about how they have their Q1 earnings confirmed for 11 days, but we're supposed to be getting fiscal year results tomorrow. Aren't we supposed to be getting something tomorrow from SMCI?
Let me check with my news desk, because the earnings that are mentioned up here are actually unconfirmed, and they've changed around a bunch. Let me see what we. Oh, you know what? Okay, yeah. So this is interesting. So we have the Q2 earnings confirmed for tomorrow. It looks like that unconfirmed report for the 21st. I'll check with the news desk, but I got to think at this point we probably won't do that. Right, we're going to do the Q2 report here confirmed for tomorrow.
Yeah, I have fun with it if you're going to trade this thing.
Yeah, I have no line on this. This seems to be completely headline driven. I'm interested in your folks' opinion on this, but I don't have any trades on this myself. Uber, never heard of it. Yeah, I know, Izzy. I was trying to bring a new issue to you here. LOL. All right, what stocks do you folks want to take a look at? Anyone? I think MBLY got an upgrade. That was Jay Wild. Good morning, Jay. Great to see you here. Mobileye Global shares are trading higher after Bank of America Securities upgraded the stock from underperform to neutral and raised its price target from 12 to 19. The stock looks like it's actually trying to go to its price target here. Printed a high of 1823 already this morning.
That's MBLY, right?
MBLY, yeah.
All right, let's see.
Ryan here saying, I'm in SMCI waiting for the earnings pop. I've been holding from the 28th. Okay, so it sounds like this entire earnings thing is part of your play, so you have your risk already figured out there. That would have been the one the one thing to mention. You already had that there. We'll see how that goes. Ryan, good luck on your trade. I hope that wins. Number of you folks are asking about Uber, Ravi, Skanda, and of course, Izzy. I know you always want to take a look at that. So here is Uber. We did trade higher here, up by about 3% in the pre-market. What's notable here is that we're actually above the intraday high from Friday. We'll see if we can hold that. That level seems to be important to me, 76, 77. Did we have any news on this here today? Corporate statement. These are all partner links. So these are articles from last week. I don't see anything fresh here today on Uber. Izzy, let me just ask you outright here. We've got 12 minutes until the market opens here. What's the play on Uber? Is this something where we wait for maybe a drop out of the open and buy the dip? You think this runs out of the gate? What's the play? And if you don't know what it's going to do, that's okay. What do you look for in a potential trade? Are you looking for a down move? Are you looking for volume flow? Let me know. Let's see if we can set up a potential trade here. Anything else you folks want to take a look? Oh, you guys are mentioning MNDY. We've made a couple of jokes about Monday.com, of course, reporting earnings on Monday morning. I mean, go figure. That seems to be the only day this company should be allowed to report, to be quite honest with you. The good news here is that this stock is up 26% here. Monday.com shares are trading higher if the company reported better than expected Q4 financial results and Q1 revenue outlook. EPS was in line, sales missed, EPS beat 108, beat the 79-cent estimate. That was a big beat there. Sales also beat by $6 million. Q1 revenue outlook above the estimate. So the low end of the range is actually above the estimate. That's likely what's driving this higher here. Monday.com soars, beats estimate, plans to, quote, double down on AI efforts, end quote. So there you go. You're getting a good report, a good guide higher, more news about them getting more involved in AI. Higher we go here on Monday. Robert, I saw that you had mentioned earlier that this one seemed like a no-brainer to you. I wasn't even thinking about Monday back on Friday, but would love to know what you took a look at there, or what you thought was pretty good here. This is a really good report for a stock that we don't talk about very often on this show. Huge move here this morning. Congrats to anyone that was holding this, by the way.
A lot of CapEx this year. Not just this company, but in AI in general. Lots of CapEx. We already got the big, the big names reporting how much they're spending. It's like over $300 billion.
Yep. And I think that what the big takeaway for me, 13, I'd love to hear your opinion on this too. The big takeaway for me is that, first of all, that whole thing with DeepSeek doing it for $5 million, that's just hogwash.
Yeah.
Right. That's just kind of what we've gathered here. It also, that announcement doesn't seem to have stopped or altered plans for any of the big companies that we've talked about, whether it be OpenAI, Meta, or anything in between. Amazon, those companies still allocating billions of dollars to CapEx for AI spend. I don't expect that to slow down here at all. So, okay.
Yeah, I'm getting asked to do the crazy levels for Mobileye. I'm sorry, for Monday, I mean.
Okay. While you're doing those here, well, just one sec. I'll go right back to you, 13. Is he saying, answering my question here about how we're going to play Uber today, or what Izzy is looking at? One of the reasons I'm asking him is because he's been quite good at trading that here recently. So when you have the hot hand, we keep feeding the hot hand. I learned that from Michael Jordan back in the 90s. Ryan, I'm not chasing Uber today unless there's a big pull. I had a huge week in Uber last week, and I'm not trying to get greedy, but I do maintain that I give it the Izzy price target of $100 here in FY25. So you got plenty of time for that to happen, and we're only 23 points away. I think that's a pretty good call here. I like this, though. Looks like you're not chasing. You'd be looking to add only in the case of a pullback. Remember what I was just saying, that the Friday intraday high, 76.79, that is definitely going to be a key level here. All right, you want me to go to Monday?
I mean, sure. I mean, look, you guys, there's not going to be a whole lot of levels I have at this point. We're pretty much at the or beyond the 2024 high, if not, just underneath it. And after that, we're going back in time to 2021. So I guess as far as levels go, after since we're beyond that point, I like 370. that's a ways away, but that's what I see, and that's what I like. I think 370 could be the next crazy spot. We'll see if that's what happens, but I'm not saying we will get there, but I don't see anything that really stands out to me other than 370 when I look at a longer time frame. I'm on a weekly chart looking at that. Daily didn't really give me a whole lot to look at. I mean, maybe 355, but I still like 370 the most.
Okay, real quick regarding Monday here, I appreciate this because I'm just going to claim ignorance here. I'm not familiar with the company's product. Excuse me, Marcus Aurelius Energy. I used Monday at my last gig. Now I'm on the jobs list. Okay, well I'm sorry about that, but I am interested in what you had to say about MNDY. You also used HubSpot. Monday's UI was easy to use. My task was to tune up their workflows. Okay, so curious because one of the things that I've always said about HubSpot is how annoying that platform is to use for someone that doesn't do that every day. I occasionally had to do tasks in HubSpot and I hated it. Sounds to me like Monday's actually better here. One of the things that I'll be looking for here, 13, obviously we're kind of at this level here where we found some resistance before. And we have a huge gap below. So if we're not able to really kind of hold this, I do think maybe a retracement back into some of this level would be possible. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, depending on how this candle finishes here today, we could have the start formation of an island. That would be something to watch how that plays out this week. I would do that on the daily chart, by the way. So we'll see how this plays out here this week and see if we get a trade set up. Ticker MNDY.
Diamond Hotline asking me to give a key level on NLSP. Right now, it looks like it's trying to turn around and get back above 260, maybe a little bit higher than that. But if you're looking for, like a key support level, I think 252 is pretty important. It's not the low of the, after we've made this impulsive move, but it is, an area where I see there's more support than just the 250, because you get to 250 and that's like a bottoming area. So you could mark that off as well. But 252 looks like the area where the buyers start to come in and help lift the price back up. This thing hasn't stopped, going down yet, but it looks like it's beginning to, bottom out, or at least has started to bottom out. So not sure what we're going to get out of the gate here. We have 5 minutes till the open, but we could see this turn around. And if it does, there looks like there's some resistance at 270 and then VWAP.
Okay. BDRX here getting mentioned by Crow. This is actually holding sideways here. This actually does look like this might run to $9. So we might have a trade here on BDRX. All right, 13, is there anything else that you want to take a look at here? Today we've done a really good job covering stocks from the chat, but if there's something that you're looking for, I'd be happy to throw it up.
No, I am just looking for some good trades today.
Yeah, me too.
That's all I'm really looking for today, because this is a little bit of a different Monday compared to the ones we've had since Trump took office. Ever since he took office, and this has kind of been the crazy thing, every Friday since he took office, it's been just a big selling candle. Like we topped out and then we just sold off. And then every Monday, except for this one, since he was elected, it's been a gap down, and then we have reversed and made a huge green candle. That's been every Friday and Monday till today. So that change in that pattern, I'm a little bit curious what we get out of that, and that's what I'm waiting for.
Indeed, and one of the stats and pieces of news that we covered for was a stat from Ryan Dietrich Smith covering exactly what 13 was just outlining there. Friday and Monday have been your ugliest days here in 2025, and the takeaway from that is that the other days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, have all been pretty green. So to 13's point here, now we're getting something different. What is that going to actually mean and do? We shall see. By the way, someone asked me earlier what kind of tea I was drinking. You had guessed some name. I can't remember what you guessed. I'd never heard of it. But to answer your question, I'm drinking a double matcha green tea. I like to do that after coffee. It's extremely good for you, and I love it.
If you want to pull up a SPY, you can see just how that price action has unfolded ever since he took office. It's actually pretty interesting to see just how you probably need a daily chart to really see it. But if you look at just look at where the day after the inauguration, because we were closed for Martin Luther King Day, so it should be the 21st of January.
Mm-hmm.
There you
Here
go.
you go.
Because we didn't have a Monday yet, so look at there. So that first red candle there to the right, that's Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the Monday gap down, and we start recovering. There's next Friday, gap down, start recovering. Next Friday, and now here we are, not having really gapped down. So I'm wondering if this is the part where this week we break this this bull flag that we've been making over the past this past couple of months almost. It looks like we could break out of it this week. This just kind of based on the chart formation, the pattern formation. So that's all I'll be watching for. See if we get that breakout. Look at BDRX now. This is really starting to move.
I was going to say BDRX is starting to trade up here. We got a minute till we open. Jay Harris was asking about Lilly. Jay Harris, the one thing that to watch here, we did not quite fill the gap going back to October 29th here. We got real close, but we didn't. That's actually led to some wicks above. However, two closes. Looks like we're setting up for a third close above the 200-day. I think as long as we do that, we probably do fill this gap, and then maybe 940 above if Lilly keeps trading higher. Okay, we're under 30 seconds until the market opens here. What do you got?
Really quick on BDAI. This was a fun one that we were trading on Friday, and got up to that 925 level that I had mentioned. That was the high of the high area of the day. Now in the pre-market, we're leaning on 925 as a bit of a support area. And now we're pushing up over VWAP into the open, which is happening now. So watch for 925 to provide support in BBAI.
Fairchild, thank you. He guessed Penny Royale tea, which is an old time used for ending a pregnancy. Okay. Gotcha.
Congratulations.
I'll remember that. Probably a Chiefs fan. I'm sorry, I had to. BDRX, by the way, looks like we pushed right out of the gate there immediately into a sell.
Yep. All those names that we were talking about did the same thing. They popped up and then started going red. Okay. BDRX, PNKB, NLSP. Actually, NLSP is turning around again.
MNTS right at the VWAP there. We'll see how MNTS does. I am interested in this BDRX if we can pull back down to the VWAP. I've got that at 828, current price here 870. So let's see if we pull back. SATL. I did want to sorry, which one? SATL, the satellite? That's
trying to turn around as well, yeah.
Okay, here you go on SATL. Looks like we dipped right out of the open. We did lose that area that I was looking for. Oh, actually, we recaptured it. So it's kind of volatile right around that area, but we'll see. We'll see what we end up doing there. I did want to give you some poll results here. What was your favorite part of Super Bowl licks? You guys said 37% of you leading the way. How about this? 37% of you, that is leading the vote get here, said didn't watch it. Love it. Absolutely love it. 36% of you said the game, 16% of you said the commercials, and only 9% of you said the halftime show. That tracks. Izzy screaming MBOT offering here. MBOT down 13%. Looks like that happened in the pre-market here. MBOT lower. This would be worth keeping on the back burner in case it bottoms out and bounces. Maybe there's a trade there. Generally speaking, a stay away from those. Monday here, this pulled back right after its move higher in the pre-market. CLF, new highs. I wonder how X and new are doing. Remember, that's going to be on the back of that tariff news. X almost round tripping here. CLF, the strongest of those.
NLSP, this one turning around, making its way back up to VWAP, looking for, I think maybe some profit taking will be at VWAP, but if it consolidates up at near VWAP, then it could subsequently, take out the VWAP as well. MACD is starting to curl, so this could make that move, but just got to make sure the volume sticks with it.
A BDRX, by the way, we're watching for a test at the VWAP. It plunged through the VWAP. So until this thing can firm up, we actually might halt here. 780 if it holds. They're still trading. They're still printing right at that 780 level. Tons of sellers flooding in here. This is going to halt it to the downside. BDRX. BDRX. Interesting. Now that NLSP, that was actually setting up for a move here. I'll tell you what, 13, this VWAP tells the story, right? We can move through that 281 spot. We should be pretty good.
Yeah, I this is the only one that I picked up when it was headed lower because I like the way the MACD look. I'm not in it anymore, but that was a nice move up to VWAP. We do need to start see this hold above, I'd say 260. If it can just like consolidate and maybe spend about 10-15 minutes above 260, that could give it enough juice to push through VWAP. So we'll see if that's what happens, or it could just do it much sooner than that. But I think this could have the strength to move through VWAP here. Just to be a little bit patient and see.
All right, we'll see. I'm actually going to set this up in since BDRX looks like it's kind of died out there. I'm going to set this one up here. By the way, I see Apple pushing to the high. I see Tesla pulling, ONDS pulling. We have Costco trading to the high. Okay, let's check in on some of the other stocks that we were taking a look at with Uber. Yeah. Okay, so Uber, this actually did end up going higher, although it's grinding. Here's BBAI.
Yeah, BBAI, if it got as high as 970, I think this could get up to 10. That would be the next upside target I have.
Ryan's asking, there has to be a stock offering on BBAI at some point, right? Ryan, I mean, look, I can't speak to what they're doing there, but I would say generally after a run like this, I mean, you kind of be dumb not to.
Well, I mean,
how's their balance? They do have some cash on here. Is that enough for big AI plans?
They have enough cash. It looks like. I mean, from their last report, it looks like they have at least 3 or 4 quarters worth of cash. Remember, they also just got a contract from DARPA. So if they continue to get contracts, I don't think that they're going to need to raise any money. It depends on if they need to do it. If they're for recompliance or for operations or whatever the situation is that they need to have cash. If they need to raise it, they're going to. But I don't know necessarily if they have to do that right now. Also, the float's over 100 million shares. If they do need to start raising money, I think that maybe they'd want to make their share structure a little bit more tradable first. But that's just my opinion.
By the way, NLSP here rejected right at that VWAP, right back down to the bottom edge of this pre-market range. It did do a decent job holding 250 there on that pull. That pull came on volume, but rejected right there at the VWAP. NLSP
couldn't hold that 260. But now we want to see it recapture, and at the same time, we want to see it hold the 65 EMA, which I currently have at 233.
April Fool's Trader giving you perhaps the other end of that here. People have no idea on BBAI earnings. This run is all valuation expansion. So it sounds to me like what you're saying here is that this is kind of carving out a broader base. It doesn't. You're thinking that this is actually kind of boosting the overall fundamentals for the underlying is what I tried to say before butchering it. BBAI pulling here now pretty good.
Also, I was getting asked to look at something. I don't watch Fox News. I don't watch any news.
Yeah,
I read it.
Neither do I anymore. I read and I watch podcasts. I pretty much don't watch any channel on television anymore. And I find that I'm way more informed than those that do. Mm-hmm. No offense. Izzy mentioning LAES, big pull down here. We're actually losing the low from Friday. That's got me concerned here. Next area of support, maybe 363. But honestly, I think you're probably better off at 330. Okay. So careful here, LAES. I know we talked about that a little bit. NLSP maybe making its way back up off that 250 spot. Again, we'll see what it does at VWAP. It was rejected there earlier.
I was asked to look at Root. So here's my thought on this one. It seems like
I'm going to step away for just one sec again, 13. BRB.
Back in November, we hit this high of 113 and 22 cents, and that seems to be a pretty good resistance area because we're back up there and not being able to get above it again. So that 113 area, we also had a big impulsive move on October 31st that brought it even higher than that, but that came right back in. Not sure I would count that, but we can just say let's factor it in just for funsies. It still got rejected once it got over there, and I'd have to look at that exact day to see what the price action looked like. But I would still say 113. That's kind of the level to watch for. You know, we could come back in and test the 20-day SMA over the next several days. But that's going to be the big resistance area to get over now. And I'm back. So anyway, I don't know what part that you missed, but 120 en route looks pretty interesting. But I think you're going to get a bigger resistance area closer to 147, 148.
Okay, good stuff there.
You did lose me for a second. I don't know what that was, but I looked at my browser and Restream hated me for some reason again.
What happened?
Oh, Restream kicked me off again.
Oh shoot!
It's okay. I'm back.
He says we lost them both. Oh, okay. This is just delayed. Okay. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for stepping away. I had to, guys. I had to. Anyway, looks like we're all back. Everything's good. Sick. You guys are saying we lost both of them. Please confirm that we're back now. I know.
Monday,
I'm just making sure.
Monday, that's trying to push up to 330. This one turned around after hitting the 65 EMA, like right off it too.
MNTS up towards the top end of its range there on MNTS. SPY pulled off of that pre-market elevated level that we had here. So it looks like as soon as the market opened, SPY has kind of traded down. Let's see the rest of the indexes. NASDAQ is actually the strongest. Dow and the SPY are both pulling.
Here we go. MNDY trying to approach the pre-market highs. Pre-market high I have at 332.62. We're about to hit 330. SATL, what a great reversal on this one is. Pre-market high on this one is 440. We're not too far away from that, about 12 cents.
NVIDIA, another move higher here, plus 2.5%. We are actually in the gap. This gap fills up here at 142 and change. So NVIDIA trying to fill the gap here. NLSP on it, right at VWAP.
NLSP, this keeps trying to hammer VWAP. Remember, I was talking about how it needs to kind of go a little bit sideways here before it pushes through. Waiting for that push through now.
Look at the wicks. We talk about price action here. Look at here we go. Here's your test right here.
Trying to. Remember, you look to the left, you got all this consolidation. So this may or may not do it, but this would be the area that's going to have that breakout motion.
I've got 277 as the VWAP here in TradingView. My broker has it at 279, clearly depressing it right there.
Mm-hmm. The volume is just going to be the key factor here. We get enough of that, it's going to push through, probably take it over 3, but it could come right back in after that. Make sure you have your if you're trading this, make sure you have your orders ready.
You guys are mentioning GRR here, GRRR. So it looks like that did move here. This pulling back on the open, just to the VWAP and holding right there. ASTS from the chat. Good old Astus.
Another space play. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is a nice little pop right out of the open here. Resistance at 29. NLSP still up at that VWAP right now.
Momentous with a nice move up to 562, and then it
hold,
but it's still above VWAP. All right. Is this the move? NLSP, is it given to us? It certainly looks like it's trying to.
I'm trying for a break higher here, 275. Stop if it yanks.
Great. You got that all dialed in. Perfect.
It's yanking. We'll see here.
It did push above it, but like I said, you needed that volume was going to tell the story, and that consolidation. So just need to see if we get that volume. Still hasn't broken down yet.
260 is the stop spot. I just don't want to take big lumps early on here.
Mm-hmm. And SATL trying to push through 435. There's a big wall of sellers there.
Come on, NLSP. This is a wild one. It looks like it is trying to gear here, though.
BBAI pulled down to 888. So lost that 925 level. We have the 200 EMA beneath it on the 5 minute.
NLSP right here, right through and through. Here we go. And trim
Perfect.
into this move. Bang, bang, bang.
Excellent.
So we might have more of a run here.
Yeah.
Thank God we waited that out.
Yep. Oh,
Let's see, a test for 3 is going to be my next area here at 3.
Yeah, now we have a big seller here at 290. So we get through this, we could really see this thing move. 317 is the pre-market high that I have.
Okay, stop at break even, gains booked. That trades on. Thankful, 1 for 1. Thankfully, we started off
great job
there on a Monday. Let's take a look at Monday here. Hey, look at that. Speaking of Monday, rolling higher here on Monday. A little dip to the VWAP, and this would have been a good trade too. Didn't take this one.
You turned a 65 EMA on. This was a perfect bounce off the 65.
Oh, look at that.
Gotta love that 65 EMA. Such a strong
man. Oh man, right on that 5-minute chart too. Shout out Mighty Soldiers in 13.
MNTS pulling, still getting support from VWAP. Man, I hope everybody's having a good day trading so far. This has been fun.
BBAI pulling, MNTS still holding higher here. Tried to go. Looks like I've got the high print there. 295 on NLSP. We'll see if we go towards 3.
Okay.
Dom H is halted. So this is halted to the downside. How about BDRX? What did we do on that? That was a downside halt. That opened and went lower, BDRX. I'm glad I didn't try to front run that one. I would have lost bigly. NLSP, this is the worker so far. More size there. Oh, they just ate it. With 295, your high print there. But tell you what, this thing is pretty wild. I think we might get that 3 though.
Well, the thing I'm going to want to see at this point is maybe another 5-minute candle or two that gets support from VWAP. If that happens, we may be just setting up to go higher.
Okay, I've got the VWAP at 280, by the way, in my broker here. 277 still in trading view.
Yep. So that's what looks good to me right now is if we can hold above VWAP and hold on to that volume. Now I know it's one we've traded before. I think we traded it last week. QNTM. Don't get too excited about it. The volume is not great on this one, but it is making some pretty big moves. But I want to point out, because I know somebody's going to say, "Hey, this thing's moving." It's got very low volume and it's got a large spread. So just be careful with that one.
250,000 shares is it so far here today. NLSP new highs. Let's see if we get at 3. I'm out at 3 if we get there, folks. Stop raise to just below VWAP, 279. Come on, one more push. One more push. One more push, NLSP. Let's do it.
Folks mentioning CDT. I'm going to take a look at that.
Sorry, LA. So Izzy's mentioning LAES is reversing. We talked about that one on a pretty big pull. This is a nice reversal if you're able to hit this. Gosh, 370 to 386, pretty quick there. LAES. No position for me on this. By the way, BDRX, this is another one that we were looking at. This also starting to bounce. 688 level, BDRX.
I don't know about LAES. We are at VWAP, but the volume isn't looking great. I'm not sure we're going to see, unless the volume changes, I don't think we're going to see this one get higher than this consolidation we put in this morning. So might not be a good one. What?
See, I was just going to say CDT. This was a good mention from Chris here. This actually trying to push away from the VWAP. We'll see if CDT can break that 320 intraday high. CDT.
BDAI.
Stopped out. I just got stopped out of the rest on NLSP. It looks like it shook me from the position, but that's okay because we were able to book those gains on the first half earlier. NLSP, this did pull back here. All right, 1 for 1 officially out. We'll look for a setup again. Let's see what happens if we cross through that 278. Hopefully at the end of the day, I'm not punching myself for piking it, but so far here traded pretty well given some of the wild action that we've seen.
That was fantastic.
I'm happy about it. Lyft, this resolving higher. By the way, who took EA last week?
CDT.
Sorry.
CDT.
I'll go to here. Let me go to we I can wait on EA. I just talked about that last week. That's providing another trade here. CD, remember 320 is the spot here. Not in this one. Not in CDT here. I'm actually flat on my day trading positions at the moment.
Good morning, Lion.
Morning, Lion. It's okay that you're late. Super Bowl, the Monday after the Super Bowl, it should be a holiday. I'm just saying, just throwing it out there. NLSP pulling now. Sometimes it's better to have a plan than to be good.
BBAI back up to 925. This was the level from Friday that we hit and turned around. So this is going to be an important level to get back above if we're going to see more upside today. Above 925, my next levels are going to be 10 and 1050. And NVIDIA running higher. Christoph C is saying RX. Okay,
that's actually one I feel like we talked about recently, didn't we?
It's on
RX
on a 7% move this morning.
Higher here. Learn with Moses. How much of NLSP did you buy, Ryan? Well, first of all, learn with Moses. The amount that I buy should have no bearing on how much you buy, since we have different risk profiles. But I was scalping a block of 1,000 shares there, out in 2 tranches, 500 per.
RXRX, $8. Or wait, hold on. Maybe. Well, the 500-day SMA. That's an important level. That's at 815. You can see that since November, last year, we've been trying to get above this 500-day SMA and only was able to do it a couple of times, but could not close above it. Just came right back in. So here we are trying to push above the 500-day SMA again. That's going to be an important level to watch for a break over 815 and a run. Let's see if we get that.
Okay, that's RX. Real quick, I did want to finish off the discussion here on EA. We talked about this last week. I'm in my 3rd leg of this trade. Remember, first of all, big time shout out to Mark Petrino. This was a stock of the day a couple of weeks ago. This did a masterful job defending 115. That was your trigger. All right. So we did the 120 and the 130 calls. And those were the February calls. I'm now long the 140 March calls. We talked about this last week. I believe it was Friday when this was pulling back here. I thought I got filled more. I only got filled 1 contract. Later on in the day, I went ahead and added to that position. Giddy up here. We're looking for 140 on this March expiry. Gap fill up here at 142. And the 200-day moving average here, 143. So remember the entire story of what happened here. This gap down was on a pre-announcement for very poor earnings. Since then, they've reported their earnings not as bad. Stock looks like it's trying to bounce and fill here. Giddy up, EA plus 250% here, plus 2.5%.
Will mentioning Summit SMMT. I'm watching Monday to see if it can hold up a 330. That seems to be the support area that we need to hold up in order to go higher. CDT, a little bit of a pull, but still above VWAP. NLSP with that was a big pull after your trade, but now we're back down here around 240. Let's see if that gives us some support. What else are we looking at here? Are you looking at Summit? Okay, so
yeah, this was a nice little spike there. It's actually was this on news? I don't think so. No, it doesn't look like it.
Be careful with those upper shadows we're trying to put in there, and the volume has really stopped ever since these impulsive moves. Be careful on VWAP holding up.
Monday continuing to go higher here. Monday up 70, almost 75 points. MNDY stocks up almost 29%. What a move.
Summit might be getting a short squeeze. We have 18% of the float shorted with almost 9 days to cover. I don't see any news, so I'm not sure what it's moving on, but that's one of the things that stands out right now. Heavy float as well. I don't know how much of a trade's going to be in here.
NVIDIA 140 calls. I've seen this a couple of times here today. Yep, 140 calls. These are the ones February 21st. This is the February monthly contract. This is the February weekly contract. 140 seems to be the spot a number of these repeat call buys on ticker NVIDIA, NVDA. Can you please look at KC?
This is a China stock.
Kingsoft Cloud?
Yeah, China cloud service provider.
Okay.
For a whole range of things. So
now the Lunar New Year is over, right? So maybe we should expect more news flow and perhaps better performance out of some of these Chinese names. Is that fair?
Maybe. I would expect to see the more volatility, more activity at the very least. Oh, by the way, Mobileye, new highs.
Now, didn't Mobileye have some news here this morning?
Yeah, it's one of the the ones we were talking about.
Yeah, Bank of America also upgraded it.
So there's that, and BBAI is taking another stab at 925. Sorry?
It was also that lift news. Sorry, I was just going through. You said BBAI, BNAI here, penny stock ripping to the highs. I'm going to pass on that. Here's BBAI.
Yeah, at that 925 level, that's the level to take out. We get suppressed there. We're probably going to go lower. PNKB, this this bank that's moving on no news, but probably the relative volume, that found support around 205, trying to turn around. Volume not looking great though.
PKNB? What was PNBK?
Sorry, I probably mixed that up. Yep. PNBK.
Well, I can't find the sticker. It's okay. That's always, by the way, whenever anyone mentions a ticker, that's always why the first thing that I do is I look at the scanner, because if you mix up a letter, but I see that ticker on the scanner and I click it, I guarantee I'm going to load the right chart. This PNBK, by the way, on the 5-minute, we've got that 65 EMA at 233. If we can cross that, VWAP above it at 253, and then the highs there, 280 and 3. So there's pretty good upside targets that this can firm up and go.
CDT just blasted off and made it broke over the pre-market high.
320 still that spot that we talked about.
Yeah, pre-market high it was 319. So yeah, right up to that area. Now we're pulling a little bit. So we're going to want to see. I'd say we'd want to see 3 hold up. They brought a huge seller at 320. They're trying to take them out right now.
I'm gonna watch this one. I'm gonna bring this one up in my broker here.
Yeah, they shoot a little bit of that at 320 away, but still got the seller there.
290 VWAP if they pull it here. No position for me on CDT. I'm just kind of watching the action.
And just looking around here, NLSP. This is down to the 65 EMA now. This one may end up going lower.
CDT, watch if this pulls. You actually might get an opportunity to enter that. I'm not feeling great about this upside break, even on some of these other ones, like on NLSP. When we did take that out, it pulled pretty quick here.
MMTS, this is moving over VWAP.
Okay. And so I think I would, I don't think I trust upside breaks here today. Market also, it's trying to bounce here, 603, but that pulled off the open. I think the strategy here for today is going to be just being patient and adding some of these at support levels. The VWAP looks pretty good. Maybe a add here, MNTS near that support level would be pretty awesome.
Getting a mention that Cooler is moving today. That's up about 12 cents from, I think it's a close on Friday. Let me look at the chart here. It's got some moves going after it sold this morning, but okay, now it's really starting to get going. But it's beyond the pre-market consolidation. The high from Friday was 226, so trying to make its way up to there. It looks like. And SMMT. Interestingly, this hasn't broken down yet. We're just kind of holding up between 2135 and 2150. Kind of consolidating in that area. CDT going sideways. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I didn't say anything. I was actually just handling some work on the side there. I'm not looking at that 9-cent penny stock. Come on, BDRX. Tell you what, this has been the biggest disappointment off our list here. This thing did nothing but move down and didn't really bounce. This actually looks like it might roll over. Nicola. You know what? I'm not even that's that Nicola is a joke. Got a lot of these really crappy penny stocks on here, unfortunately. XIII Therapeutics, this stock's up 18% here. This wasn't on my list to cover here this morning. XIII Therapeutics shares are trading higher after the company reached a settlement agreement with Teva Pharmaceuticals, resolving all patent litigation related to one of its products. How's Teva responding to that? That was actually been a pretty decent mover for us recently. Teva, it's still up here, but pretty much flat. Really no action there. Monday, that did take out some highs, or did take out those sets some new highs there. It might be pulling back. Congrats to anyone that took Monday, by the way, that traded that one. Robert, I know you were on that. ON here on semiconductors. On semi shares trading lower following worse than expected Q4 financial results. Interesting note here, this thing pulled, bounced, and actually went green temporarily before resuming lower here. EPS 95 cent misses the 97 cent estimate. That was really close. Sales 1.72 billion, missed the 1.58 billion. Let's see if it was a guide.
Great discipline there, Christoph. If your platform is not working and you're green on the day, take your gains and have a good one. Great job, dude.
Yeah, not bad. It's always better to leave the day with green instead of red. Really quickly, on semi, Q1 adjusted EPS 45 cent to 55 cent. The estimate was 89 cent. This is absolutely why this thing is down. In fact, I'll be honest, I'm surprised this isn't down more. That's a huge miss there on the guidance, and a pretty significant miss there on the revenue. So really weak guide here. Definitely underwhelmed. Stock down 4.5% here. ON. I wonder what conference calls currently in progress. I wonder if that's what was responsible for the move up here. I wonder what they said on that conference. That might be a transcript to go through.
CDT has a huge seller at 316. I don't think they have the volume to get through that, but if they try to hit it and you see the volume expand, this could be a big move over that level. So just watch for that if we get the volume expansion. We're not going to get over that level unless we get the volume. So just something to put out there with CDT. You probably see it in your on your price ladder, don't you?
I actually don't see any. You said 316, right? That's blank for me right now, but that'll change as the price moves up there. It just pulled and yanked through 3. See, for whatever, and 13, I don't know why it does this. Mm-hmm. For whatever, Thinkorswim, like, it only shows me a really good view of the order book when the price is around there. Now that we've pulled off of this level here on CDT, I can't see what the orders are like up the ladder. I can only see them here right around VWAP, and it's odd that it does that. And this is the only broker that does that. By the way, McDonald's reported earnings here this morning. McDonald's up pretty good. This is up 5% here, just $14.50. I know I took a lump on McDonald's trading it at the end of the year last year around the McRib. That didn't do well, but this now kind of crossing 300. This chart looking better. We're in the gap. This gap fills up here at 313. McDonald's.
Diamond,
we'll see.
Diamond, you're reading my mind. I was just looking at NLSP, and it bounced off the 65 EMA. Hasn't recovered and made its way through this pre-market consolidation, but that bounce there, that was interesting to me. So what I would like to see is it recapture. I'd be happy with recapture of 265. That would at least give me some hope that it's going to see VWAP shortly after. But recapturing VWAP, that's going to be the big thing here, because it has only been able to do that once, and then it got smacked right down after it did. So VWAP's a very important level here with NLSP.
All right, we will take a look at NLSP. It's one winner on the day. It is 10 o'clock, and it's 10 o'clock on a Monday. You know what time that is. It is Matt Maley time. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Matt, good morning. Happy Monday. I got to say, I am all on board for making the Monday after the Super Bowl a national holiday, but nobody's asked my opinion yet, so we'll see what happens. How was your weekend? What did you think of the game?
Oh my God, I was shocked. I was rooting for the Eagles, but I just couldn't believe that they dominated on both sides of the ball to the degree that they did. I mean, they just seemed to do whatever they wanted to on offense and what they wanted to do, and they just. I mean, until the very end of the game, Kansas City could not do anything. And it just was shocking to see that Patrick Mahomes not do as well. I guess he's human.
Yeah.
I was joking with people this morning and saying that, they'll probably, cut him and look for
Cut him. Matt, I'll tell you what, I had a couple of stats lined up for this morning that I was just waiting to. I mean, I lost a little bit of sleep. I was so excited about these. One of them, unfortunately, got erased when Mahomes threw that 50-yard touchdown to Worthy at the end of the game there. If that play doesn't happen, Patrick Mahomes had a worse stat line than Rex Grossman did when he played against the Colts. All right. And as a Bears fan here, that means quite a bit to me. Now, the other takeaway that I took from this game, Matt, I'll tell you what, leading up to that game, I heard all this talk about the Chiefs being the best dynasty of all time, blah, 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 blah. I never, ever saw your Patriots get the brakes beat off of them like that. So I think your Patriots still hold the record for that best dynasty in the NFL.
Well, yeah, well, they'll still have plenty of time. It'll be interesting though. And Kelsey, I mean, he's a shadow kind of his former self. I hope he retires. He's a shoe-in Hall of Famer. Nothing against him at all. I mean, gosh, he's unbelievable. But I guess my thing is that people think, oh, geez, I want to come back and I don't want to end that way. I could see that, but boy, he better do a lot of working out this week, this summer, and not be doing anything with with commercials. Walk away from the commercials a little bit more. But
I'll tell you what, I mean that respectfully, but please retire, Travis Kelce. I'm with you on that. All right, Matt, let's get to the market here. The other thing that happened right before kickoff yesterday, we did get some news from President Trump regarding some tariffs on steel and aluminum. So this is not as broad-based as some of the other tariffs, a little bit more focused. I will say the market was resilient. It was actually up here in the pre-market. We did sell off out of the open there, but it looks like it's getting bought back here. We're still kind of in this channel on this show. We've kind of named this the Trump channel. I won't make you hold that, but that's kind of where we're at here. What do you see in the SPY? Obviously, we've got the CPI coming later today. We've got a bunch of earnings this week, most notably Palo Alto and Coinbase on Thursday. What do you see here this week?
And then, we also have Chairman Powell speaking the semi-annual testimony in front of Congress. So that'll be interesting.
That's right.
But the one thing, well, first of all, on earnings, you keep hearing people try to say that, it's been a good earnings season. Well, of course, they've, 77% of the companies are beating expectations, but they always do. Earnings, this has not been a good earnings season. I mean, I'm not saying it's been a horrible one by a stretch of the imagination, but earnings estimates, the guidance that's the most important, has been coming down. I mean, I'd mentioned, the last couple of weeks, it's coming down only slightly. Well, now it's a little bit more. I mean, people were looking for the consensus was looking for 15% earnings growth this year. Well, now that's down to 12. And in fact, if you look, depending on facts, that's according to FactSet. If you look at Bloomberg's numbers, the expectations are for less than 11% earnings growth. And he'd say, that's pretty good, and it is if the market was fairly valued. But since the market is expensive, that just makes it tougher to push the market a lot higher. Now, again, you mentioned the tariffs. I'm just looking at my screen over here. The market is back near its highs for the morning. The situation, you look at I look at some of these commodities, obviously oil bouncing back, gold hitting new highs, silver trying to play catch up that we talked about last week. With commodity prices moving up the way they are because of this tariff issue, I just don't see how the market can hold up a whole lot longer. Now, again, the tech stocks are seem to be carrying most of the water today, but there's just a lot of, as you said, the market is holding up very, very well in the face of some new news in the last couple of weeks. I just worry that it's going to have a tough time holding up for a whole lot longer.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And tech is where I've got my eye there, right? Yeah, TJ in the chat here saying it's been trash earnings for big tech. Big tech has carried us to where we're at. It'd be really curious to see if that's one of the things that kind of turns us around here. Do you have your eye on any report in particular this week that you're kind of waiting out?
Palo Alto, of course, is going to be an important one. That's in the tech sector. Basically all the Mag 7 are behind us except for NVIDIA, but that's still 2 weeks away, or more than 2 weeks away, or about 2 weeks away. Anyway, so it's so we're kind of in no man's land when it comes to that. Overall, I'm not focusing on any one of those. I'm actually a little bit more focused on what the CPI number might bring, because of course Friday's data, where it showed that the employment. Wage growth was picking up, or wage inflation was picking up. That was actually a bigger reason for the market getting hit Friday than the comments on the reciprocal tariffs that made later in the afternoon. And so if we do see a stronger number on the CPI data, that's going to create some create some headwinds.
Okay, do you think that, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot here, but this is really what everyone's watching, at least what I'm watching. You think we set any more new highs here on the SPY? You think we've got the strength to maybe push us to a new range?
Well, that's certainly possible. I mean, it's like we said, the markets, we've had tariffs. We've had the Fed confirming that they are not going to be as accommodative as we had thought, just 2 months ago or 3 months ago. And then, of course, like I said, this whole thing with the AI and questioning with the DeepSeek and whether there's going to be the kind of full, broad earnings growth that people were expecting from the AI phenomenon. So there's a lot of things been thrown at the market, and yet it's held up. So is it possible that it could push even higher? That's certainly a possibility. But I just, again, we're facing some headwinds right now. The market is expensive. Earnings estimates, are coming down. I just think those are the kind of headwinds that make it very, very difficult. And again, just going back to something we had talked about a couple of weeks ago with President Trump, he's even talked about it with the tariffs, like, we might have to feel a little pain right now. I strongly believe that he's not worried so much about the stock market as much as he said in the past. That's a big, key report card on how his administration is doing. It's not important in the first part of the year. And again, the starting point's a tough one where the market's so expensive. And in my opinion, I think he'd rather have the market reset lower and then start the report card ticking after that. So the thing is, the one last thing to say is we know that February tends to be a seasonally tough time for the marketplace. March tends to see a low. I still think that even though, again, if we push new highs and then FOMO comes in, fear of missing out, especially institutional players, they've got to chase it if the market's going higher. But I just think that after a 50% rally in 2 years, and really almost 70% in 2.5 years, or less than 2.5 years, we're getting ripe for a pullback sometime soon. So I think the line of least resistance is lower, and one of the key names could be Meta, which there's a lot of reasons to like Meta, and I like Meta, but it's up 15 now, 16 days in a row. It's RSI chart, and it's getting up to above 80. That no matter where it's going over the long term, it's getting ripe for a pullback soon. So that could be a trigger point or a catalyst for seeing the market pull back a little bit. So that's one I'll be watching closely all week long.
Okay, that's awesome. I actually would love to see that there on Meta. And one more thing regarding the seasonality stat that you just gave about February and then a bottom coming in March. This is actually a seasonality chart that one of the members of our happy hour group has been looking at. And this shows exactly what you were talking about. It shows the second half of February being weak into the first half of March, with that bottom at some point being printed in March. So Matt, really good stuff. This is also something that we're looking to see if this ends up shaping up here. 13, do you have anything for Matt here?
I don't know if this is something you can speak a whole lot on, but it's just something that's I've been curious about ever since it was announced, because we've been hearing all about it ever since last year, even earlier than last year. But with Trump's announcement of taking over Gaza, do you think that there may be a strong future this year for commercial real estate?
That's interesting. I mean, overall in the U.S., that's where we really care about. There's still a lot of issues out there because these banks, they keep extending and pretending and extending these loans so that because they really don't want them all to come. They can't call all these loans at the same time. It's the whole thing is that it's interesting how they pulled back on that whole Gaza thing with the U.S. moving in. I think is very, very interesting. There's a lot of reasons why it's getting a lot of pushback, but I mean, as the president said, nothing's worked for how many decades. Maybe try something new. I don't. Again, I'm not a geopolitical expert, so I don't want to go into that. But I think that's a little bit of a reach to say that's going to really help the commercial real estate marketplace. But the situation has been going on for so long, and it hasn't come to a big, it hasn't had the big implosion that people were concerned about. So maybe the thing can finally turn around. But I just think that it's going to be, with interest rates standing where they are and not look like they're going to go a whole lot lower anytime soon. It's still a tough play right now.
Okay. Just thought I'd throw that out there because I was curious about it.
Sure.
It's not, I mean, look, we're going to get plenty of wild cards here, and we're going to not know how to break them all down. Matt, really appreciate it. Really good stuff, folks. As a reminder, if you want to trade along with Matt, be sure to check out his subscription. He's been doing amazing. I also threw a link in there to join the Universe webinar on Friday if you're interested in that. So, Matt, thanks very much. Keep killing it. Have a great week. And I think we're all pretty happy. Patriots still have the top NFL dynasty.
That's great stuff. We'll see what happens. Mahomes ain't going anywhere, so he'll be. They're going to be doing. He's going to do very well over the next 10 years. Still a young player, but going to be a lot of fun. Next year is going to be very interesting. Those Eagles look unbelievable.
Yeah, they sure do. All right, that is Matt Maley. Matt, again, thanks for joining us. Have a great one. We'll see you next week.
Sounds good.
All right, folks, back to the action here. Really good stuff. We'll see where we end up going. We'll see where what we have on deck here for this week and where we end up going. All right. What stocks were really moving? Do we have any big moves while we were talking to Matt there?
Well, SATL made a new high.
SATL.
The BBAI was trying to rebound, could not get back to VWAP. Now we're looking like we're heading lower. Next support areas I have for BBAI are going to be 5. I'll get the number out. 835. And then after that, maybe 825, but 8 is the strongest that I have. So I'd say maybe 8 is probably going to be the best bet here if we continue to go down and lose 835.
Okay, the one thing to keep in mind here, we were on a pretty good run here for BBAI. So a little bit of a pullback, not really terrible. We're actually still green on the day despite this pullback out of the open. So we'll see if we do get an area that we firmed up here. I noticed while we were talking to Matt there, Apple ended up trading to the high. I did see that the market kind of reversed. We talked about the market pulling back there. SPY actually set a new high. NASDAQ still at the highs. Dow's lagging behind a little bit despite some of the good earnings from stocks like McDonald's, but it does look like tech, of all things, starting to carry us to the highs again. Stop me if you've heard that before. What I miss?
I'm not stopping you.
Okay, just saying. Just saying.
All right. Not seeing anything that's looking great right now. A lot of sideways action in all these names. I mean, QNTM, that blasted off to 14.5 on very little volume, but it's doing the thing.
NLSP, this might have bottomed at 240. We'll see if it's got the strength to maybe move back higher. BDRX finally put in a support here. I'll be honest, after what we saw from BDRX here today, I don't trust this one in terms of a potential reversal. We'll see if we get it. I don't trust it. NVIDIA still holding higher. All of you that were on NVIDIA earlier, that was a really good call. We did see some repeat call buying here in some of those NVIDIA strikes. That moved higher. Nokia, new CEO. That's ticker NOK. The only question I have here is, are they still producing a device that has Snake on it? Justin Hotard to succeed. Not familiar with that CEO. This is up 1% here. Not sure if that's going to be a market moving piece of news.
So is their business just like networking equipment and cloud infrastructure? Like, I don't know what they even do at this point anymore.
Telecom equipment and services. I don't know what they really do anymore either. It's been a long time since I've even been around a Nokia product, at least one that I knew about. SATL, which we talked about earlier, this actually set some new highs. This has been not bad today. Volume is not, it's elevated a little bit, not great, but this is still trading higher.
I'm
Docs, sorry, so real quickly here. Docs, this continuing to move. This had a monster report on Thursday of last week. This now pushing higher 2 days in a row. Sorry, 13, get in there.
The concern I have with SATL is that this thing has, peaked 3 times since the move began, starting in pre-market and 2 of them in pre-market and 1 in the regular session. So I'd be concerned that we're not able to go much higher. But we'll see if it can hold up here. Just need to stay above VWAP. But man, this thing is really slow moving too. And
then TS, this is Gearin here on some volume.
Yeah, that's another one that also has peaked times.
What else do we have in here? A firm with a pretty decent reversal off that, $73?
Oh, thank you, Smoke Tuna. So Nokia is a competitor to Ericsson for radio equipment and mobile networks. So you'll probably see some of their equipment in vehicles too, right? Since Ericsson does that as well. Is that correct assessment?
Competitor to Ericsson. You remember, didn't Ericsson release that phone when the Matrix was really popular? Morpheus had that phone where like the thing shot out. Wasn't that an Ericsson phone? I remember that being hot for like 3 weeks. And then I never heard from the company again.
Honestly. Probably because it broke a whole bunch.
Man, oh man.
That was actually a Nokia 7110.
Yeah, but there wasn't Ericsson. There was something involving Ericsson around that same time. But anyway, they seem to be competitors. Don't follow either of them at the moment. SATL, new highs here. How's CDT doing? That's lost its VWAP. Don't see anything great here. Someone had mentioned PDYN earlier. Are we getting another opportunity? Okay, so PDYN, this is actually pretty good performance here. This wasn't on my list, though, today. We didn't have news on this, did we?
Oh, my God.
No.
The firm's doing Affirm things.
Yeah, I told you, dip and rip on Affirm there. You get a 5-point reversal on that intraday here already on Affirm.
Yep, broke through the highs of Friday. Where does this go?
Docs continuing to set some new highs there. See, Lyft seeing some more calls. See, Lyft, this is disappointing. This actually came back in, although I am seeing some more call activity. These are 30 calls, but those are leaps. I'm not going to get excited about that, at least not at the moment. NVIDIA, more call sweeps as NVIDIA continues to trade to the high. Really kind of a bounce back day here for NVIDIA. Quick look at the SPY holding above 604 here as well. NASDAQ to the highs as well at the moment.
We're getting asked why IBM is selling off over the past few days. That seems like a pretty easy one we could both tackle. I mean, this thing that, gapped up and got super extended on the RSI. And this is, I don't think they have a huge amount of government contracts to where if they lose them, they're going to, they're going to go out of business. But, it is still a portion of their revenue. So with, crackdown on government spending being on the table, that could be hammering this, but also because it's been very extended.
So a couple of things here. So I'm actually watching IBM today. Here you go. We have the setup here for a potential island. Now, the one thing that I do want to mention real quick, especially when you see this type of formation, we already pushed to new highs one time after popping to this price level. So the fact that we've rolled back down here means that I would say the way I would put this is that there's less of a chance that we hold this area in compared to if we try to do that back here. But nonetheless, we'll see here if IBM holds this. If it does, I actually think that this could roll to the highs. Otherwise, we have a pretty obvious gap down here to 230. That also lines up pretty nicely with the 50-day moving average. Now, to your point here about government spending, I think what you're referring to there is the Doge department, which is going through and uncovering just an ungodly amount of corruption and misspending, which I think is great. Just from start to finish, I think it's great. Here's the key, though. When it comes to cleaning some of this up, I wonder how much of the IBM dealings are actually going to be viewed as waste. This isn't some interpretive dance class for some country that we've never heard of before, which is one of the things that we're seeing come out of Doge. These are actual contracts with a huge American company here. So I'd want to take a wait and see approach on that, but it's a really good point. If they're looking to comb through government spending, a company like IBM, which has a lot of it, might stand to lose some of those. But that's kind of how I would look at this. Otherwise, I'm kind of just looking at the chart here. Do we really kind of hold this 249 area? If so, I could actually see this making a move back towards the highs. We'll see, though.
Getting a few mentions here. One of them was ASTS. That's ripping. Maverick saying my BB BlackBerry is still rising. I laid out a case for how we could see a rally in this if we move over the 50-month SMA. We're almost there. So see if that ends up happening.
I can't believe you're getting this run in BlackBerry. This is unreal. Here's your 50-month, by the way. And actually, it's worth noting that the 100-month is about $2. Well, a dollar on top of that. So that's another area to break there if it's got some continued strength.
I'm just looking for this pattern to repeat. It's done it twice already. Why not a third time? And we're really beelining up to that 50-month SMA. So this is going to be the month. If it's going to do it, this is going to be the month where we have to close over it.
So we'll see where we end up getting that. BlackBerry, ticker BB.
What else are we all looking at here? Looks like MNTS losing VWAP, not able to get back above it. MACD showing that it's rolling over. That might be it for MNTS for now anyway. Root dropped down to 108.93 and is turning around.
Really quickly here on MNTS, one of the things that's going to help tell the story the rest of the day here is going to be this volume. You can see we've kind of rolled over in terms of the actual volume levels. If this expands, especially while it holds VWAP, I think you might have another opportunity. We're right here at VWAP. Careful, though. I agree. I think if you lose this, you're probably going to test some of these levels lower here.
Yeah, BlackBerry has been getting a lot of attention because they are in that cybersecurity space, and that's a theme this year. Also, automated driving systems. No, they don't do that. They do diagnostics and software for infotainment systems. It's called the QNX pattern. They also have IVY. Which is the newer one of that, and they're in a lot of cars, so they've already got their software in a lot of vehicles. But for this particular move, that's not going to be anything related to vehicles. It's going to be cybersecurity. They have they still hold a lot of patents and a lot of their business in end-to-end endpoint communication and security and Internet of Things.
NLSP, by the way, curling back towards that VWAP. We'll see if we end up getting there. Volume has totally died out. Until the volume spikes here, I don't see another trade. Shelly, great to have you back. Excuse me, the S&P is not supposed to fall today. I didn't get the memo. Well, that's okay because we had a little bit of a dip and rip there, Shelly. Good to see you. Hope all is well with you. I know Mike missed you. So I'm sure he's glad that you're back here. What else did I miss here real quick?
AI with a rebound here, trying to come back up to the 200 EMA. Needs more volume to get through VWAP, but that's still a little ways away. Amazon scalped by Izzy.
Did it dip and rip? Let's see. Did it dip? I haven't looked at Amazon. It sure did. So, okay, so we were a little bit higher in the pre-market, dipped right out of the open. Nice rip there, Izzy. You know what? I guess we should. This chart actually looks like the Qs, right? Like if we flip over to the Qs, this intraday chart looks almost the same. This basically followed QQQ here. That would have been our analog to follow. That is what we should have followed there. And then, Jared, you were asking about EA. So, Jared, here real quick. We took those EA calls. Holy crap, help me out. When do we cash out? Jared, this is a big, big no-no on the show. I cannot tell you where to buy or sell. I'm glad that you're up, but unfortunately, you're going to have to figure that one out on your own. This is all about your risk. This is all about how much money that you've risked. I'll say this. I don't know what your price is here. My calls are up over 100%. Before the end of the day, I'm going to look to sell half and get those gains booked. Please also keep in mind, this is the third leg of this EA trade for me. Third leg. I don't know when you joined. That's really going to tell a lot about how you're actually going to trade this. So can't necessarily help you on all of that. Oh, got to change my DPI here. There we go. Third leg of the trade here. Once I close this, I'll be looking for 140 on the rest of this. However, glad you're making some money on that. Glad you're making some money on that.
Getting a question from Basnaldo asking when is Tesla going up, because he's tired of this BS. And I can't blame him, because this has been kind of in a steady downside pattern ever since December, the middle of December. So looks like there could be some support around this this area that we have. I think you may have also got it lined out there, like a 248 to 250.
Yeah, let me go to my bigger chart here. That's where I have the drawings on it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 348 to 350. That could be a support area, because that's about where we're at right now. And getting a little bit of a reversal candle today. So we could start trying to turn around here. But, if this does begin to move back up, I think you're still running into a bunch of resistance around 375. The SMAs, which are at 398 and 402. So 400 is going to be another big resistance area, since that's the average of the two about. That's about all I've got here. I think you are seeing a little bit of a turnaround here, but I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of upside to this reversal.
It does kind of look like Tesla's kind of grinding here. I wouldn't be terribly shocked if this came into the 100-day, which we have at 334.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what, 26 points beneath where we're at right now? I could see that happening. Could see that being a potential bounce spot here from Tesla. But the one other thing to keep in mind with Tesla is that you are exposed to headline risk, right? You get, like, I'll just draw you a hypothetical. Tomorrow, you get a PR about the robo-taxi being ahead of schedule. The stock's going to gap up 20 points tomorrow, right? So just keep that in mind. I mean, we're looking at a chart. We're trying to figure out where some of the levels were here. This 334 100-day actually lines up with the bottom end of this sideways area that we were trading here on Tesla. So I could see this definitely being a support area here. I don't feel confident that we're going to go to 334. Sure looks like it with us kind of rolling over here, but that would be one level I'd look for this to bounce at. And Shelly, Buddy's in a different room. He's taking his mid-morning nap.
So I was asked about another stock. Is he saying GSAT? So check this out. Another space play here.
In a gap too.
Right, but look at who they did the definitive contract with. It's MDA Space. That is on my watch list. The ticker is MDALF. That is up 10% today. So more space plays happening. ASTS, of course, much better than that. We already know that that's a big mover, and I think it may be having some good movement because of that Starlink T-Mobile partnership. ASTS is essentially the same, doing the same thing with Verizon and AT&T. But I think to iron out the questions that I'm sure that are follow. I do think Starlink will be the dominant player in that. ASTS may have a limited time on the market. I don't know how long, but okay. I think Starlink's going to end up, beating them.
Okay, there you go. Oops, clicked the wrong workspace there.
But as far as GSAT goes, since I didn't really get to that, this pattern looks pretty bearish to me on the daily chart. nice to see that we're moving up and filling this gap that we created from January 28th to 29th. I'd expect that to fill, but we do have the 20-day SMA in the way of that. So I would say if this does get the fill, it's going to probably fill somewhere in the low 180s if it can get through the 20-day SMA. But those EMAs, we need to see the price get above and hold above those SMAs. Otherwise, I think we could see it go lower.
Yep. NASDAQ at the highs here. SPY at the highs. Looks like we are trying to trade to the top end of that range. Jay Rice, good morning. By the way, Jay, how was Arizona last week for the golf tournament? I'm sad that I wasn't out there, but given all of the shenanigans that we see with some of the planes, maybe that was a good time. Maybe dial it back here. You're mentioning a couple stocks here. DOX, which we are seeing on the scanner here today, continuation after its earnings move here. The stock got 58 prior to earnings, 84 here. LEU, this is probably your biggest trade or the one that we talk about all the time. This is continuing to move. And then Affirm, the question I have for you here on Affirm is, where is the turnaround spot in your opinion, Jay? Where do we turn around on Affirm? I feel like we just got news about consumers using their credit card more and more. I got to think the buy now, pay later eventually comes to a crashing halt. Let me know what you see for an upside level AFRM. I'd be interested in a regression back to the mean.
Getting asked, let's see, I think I had some other.
BFRG, sorry to interrupt here, but this is actually going off of the VWAP. Crow, looks like you were on this. What happened with this one?
It has AI in the name.
Yeah, okay.
It seems like that's all the big movers right now are all the AI names. You got Paladine AI, you got BBAI. AI names are having a good go at it. Let me get to Jacob's question about DOMH. I'm going to take that for him.
Got it right here. That's ripping to the highs as we speak.
Oh, sure is. Let's get some levels here. I don't think it matters what's going on with the company internally. It's all that matters is what's on the chart right now. So let's see here. Wow, this thing is going to highs not seen since 22. And we are coming up into a consolidation area that was established back in May of 22. Looks like 550 could be a pretty strong resistance area based on price action from 2022. In July and August, September, we had that area as support. And we rebounded off that and went on to go higher into 7 before it eventually came down and crashed through 550. So 550 looks like a very, very interesting level. And that's where I would put a line as an upside target. After that, looks like 605 might be the next one. So hopefully that helps you out there.
Yeah, that's kind of going back to that consolidation area there from 2022. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so the highs and lows of all that consolidation is going to be potential levels to watch for.
And don't forget, this stock up 61% here. Actually, some pretty good volume on this stock as well. Is this halted? Yep, halted to the upside here. 518 DOMH. Dominari Holdings. Jay here saying it was a great tournament this year. The weather was perfect. Okay, so maybe you're saying I should stay away because last year it rained. Still had fun, but it rained. And then as far as Affirm here, disagree. Payments are strong. PSFE takeover chatter and MAV at all-time highs. Payment signing great. I don't know what SCT.
And we might not see all that now. I kind of on Jay Rice's side for now, but I think
I'm looking for when this turns around. I'm not disputing any of this. I'm looking for when is the turnaround. Do we see it in the charts? Do we see it in some fundamental? I'm not disputing that payments are strong now.
Well, I think there's going to be a real concern once we start to get more economic reports because with the ICE roundups and the slashing of government jobs, we've had a conversation about how this could slow down the economy. So we might see some, be less, less buying, less, people might be, tightening their wallets. That could be one of those things that we end up seeing that just, really injects a lot of nervousness into the market and that gets investors worried about these buy now or these credit card companies or the buy now pay laters, those loans not getting paid back. Anyway, just something that could happen.
Okay. Yeah, I'm look at this point. I'm looking for when does the downside move start on some of these payment processors? Maybe we're not at the top yet. I could totally see it, but I got to think there's going to be a down move coming. And maybe I'll just miss it. Right? I'm not a huge. Maybe it's my own bias towards buy now, pay later to begin with. But okay, we'll see. We'll see where, if and when that turns around here.
Carmen, I'll be honest with you. Our cat looks like this is going to go lower than 10. That's just not a very good looking daily pattern that I see there.
This looks like a pretty big head and shoulders.
Yeah, certainly.
We got left shoulder, head, right shoulder.
And I'll say that, if it does get support at 10, which I have a line here because that was a level that I've outlined. If it gets support from 10 and it turns around, I could see the run maybe topping out around 1250 before it comes back in. That's if we do end up getting support from 10 and running. If we start losing 10, we're also losing the 50-day SMA, and then the 20 would be next. So then the top would be in, for this pattern. But that would be the max upside I see at this point is 1250.
Okay. There you go.
What are your thoughts?
To me, this looks like this is going to roll. I mean, here's the thing with RCAT. Like, this is one of those drone stocks. This went really hard, really fast. A little bit of a reset here is not bad. Frankly, let me actually get a bigger chart here real quick. I'm going to go to Palantir next year. I wanted to see how that's doing. That is continuing to trade up here. Let me go to the bigger chart here real quick on RCAT, because I do think that this is not necessarily going to be it with RCAT. I think that a lot of these drone plays are going to actually, and let me actually redraw the head and shoulders here so I have it on this chart. I do think that some of these drone plays are going to get lit again, especially if we have more news coming out that involves some of this. I think drones are here to stay. If we lose the 50-day moving average, which is kind of like what we're testing right now, I think that really the next area here for me is 8. And to be quite honest with you, I would try for a potential bounce along the 100 or even the 200. Now, the 200, I don't think we get down until this is closer to $5 or $6, because I don't think this move is going to just roll over and just dive right away. So I think we're going to have some more time for that 200-day to creep up. But I agree with you. To me, it sure looks like this is going to roll over. I think the next level down here is 8. And
Carmen mentioning that if there is anything good said, then I think you're saying it goes to 20. If that's going to have to be, that must be something that's really, really, a really good piece of news in order for it to invalidate the pattern and make highs that we haven't seen since 2018. That would be pretty interesting. But it could. I'm not going to say it can't happen. What's the float on this thing? 67. So a little bit heavier, but ripping to 20. I don't know what that news looks like, but it would have to be significant in my mind.
Okay. See, anything else jumping off the scanner here?
Wow, what a move in Palantir today.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, this thing is just, it's crazy. Look, we said all the time this thing really needs to come back down to earth, but don't feel great shorting it. Look at what it did.
DOMH. I saw folks were saying that it was halted. It looks like it's open now.
It was.
Okay.
It was halted earlier. It's had 3 halts today. It's open currently, but it's had 3 halts today.
Well, if it continues with this price action, we're going to get a megaphone pattern. That's where you have a broadening wedge at the end of the impulse move. It starts to look like a flag, but when it broadens out like making higher highs and lower lows, that ends up being a megaphone pattern. They're typically bullish. Aside from that, what else do we have here that's going on? Not seeing much from the movers we were looking at this morning.
Nope.
Monday went up to 338 even, and that's where the high is. Hasn't been able to get back above that yet.
TTD caught an upgrade today. Sorry, it was not an upgrade. KeyBank raised the price target 140 to 142. The only reason I mention it is because the stock's on the scanner here up nearly 7%. Peloton trading higher here, 7.2%. This just shy of $9.
Oh, Carmen, thank you for that piece of news. So, well, it'll become something to keep an eye on. If I don't know how they're going to announce that because they've already they've already announced that there's a big purchase, right? So are they going to reveal the buyer? Because I think that's something that sometimes they don't do. But if if that's the case, then maybe that's a headline that we're waiting for. All right, so it looks like
Another good day.
Yeah, it has been a really good day. A firm just continues to. A firm's knocking on the door of 80. Crazy stuff. Ask CYN, any clear reason for the
83, sorry, 83 and a half might be a resistance area for a firm. All right, what did you have there?
We're getting asked about a penny stock. CYN, any clear reason for the big move up? Probably because it's it's only got
this is an 11-cent stock, guys.
Yeah, I mean I'll answer the question, but it's probably because it's got a very a pretty low float. I don't see really any news today. What does the volume look like? So, yeah, I really don't have a good definitive answer on why it's moving up today, but this is not a super spectacular move either. I mean, we are coming off a very, very low bottom here. I think probably the lowest it's ever had. Yeah, it is. So all-time low we're bouncing off of, low RSI. If anything, it's probably just a very low RSI bounce. I doubt that we're going to see a gap fill that was established on the January 31st to the February 3rd. I would just say it's low RSI. That's about all I can see from this. So, sorry.
Baba here. This is trading higher by 6% here. Alibaba shares trading higher after President Trump reportedly postponed the tariffs on packages under $800 from China. So that's causing Baba to trade up here. Actually, the volume looks pretty good on this too for Baba. On average, it does 17.5 million. Already here this morning, it's traded 15.5 million. We're definitely going to be above the average by the time it's all said and done. Also, and actually, let me go back to the bigger chart here because we have taken a number of looks at Baba recently. Might as well do that here with some of those other charts. So, okay, you can see here we did end up filling this gap. I know we pulled back from that, but higher we go here. We're actually on deck for another gap here. Got this at 111 up to 113. Kind of a small gap there, but it sure looks like Baba's on the way to do that. The one thing to keep in mind here, this RSI is overbaked. The last time that our RSI got up to be this high, actually the last time was right in here. We stayed like this for what, 3 sessions? The time before that looked like that was about 8 or 9 sessions, excuse me. So maybe we have a little bit more room here. Baba RSI has me concerned that we might be near a near-term top.
So that news is also helping move PDD. That's Pinduoduo. They are the ones that own Temu, that Wish 2.0 basically, or yep. crap Amazon, however you want to label it. But this is coming up to its 200-day SMA. I have that at about 122 and 91 cents. We'll call it 123 if you want. I'd expect a little bit better of a move out of this, but it's just a postpone on tariffs, not a cancellation. So a little bit more of a muted move on both the Baba and Pinduoduo as a result of that. Because if it was just removing or eliminating the tariffs, these things would be ripping. KWeb, says Izzy. That's the China Internet ETF. Let's see here. So kind of breaking out of a wedge here. I'm sorry, not a wedge, but a downtrend. Looks like... Sorry,
which ticker? I was answering another question here. I wasn't paying attention to you.
Izzy was mentioning KWeb.
KWeb, sorry about that.
I mean, if it continues to move up, and it looks like they may have already filled that gap, but if we continue with the upside, I see the next resistance level being closer to 3480. then we'll have to see if it can get higher than that. If it does, there's another gap fill back from October that hasn't been filled. So been suppressed for quite some time. You also see some good movement in yen. Yeah, that's up 6% today. Yen is the 3x bull shares for China ETFs. If you want to play the downside, then you'd be doing Yang. That's YANG. This is YINN.
Both of those pretty liquid, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Staff Sergeant Ryan, good morning, boss. You're asking about Boeing here. Check out the news on Boeing. Contract with India stalled until they, quote, significantly increase orders before establishing an aircraft assembly line in the country.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't see the news, and I'm trying to find the actual news itself.
It's at 9:12 in the morning.
9:12 here. Boeing seeks more. Thank you. Good Lord, your eyes are really good. Boeing seeks more orders before committing to Indian Air. So I think that this would probably be a good thing, right? Like they'd want more orders on the books before they start producing planes. They don't want to run into any more loss issues.
Yeah, I think that it's a smart move because they want to make sure that if they're going to commit to some kind of massive project like that, and and employ those amount of people, that they're going to want to make sure they have work for a while.
Here,
that's what I would think.
President of Boeing India and South Asia, Salil Gupta, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correct. My apologies if I'm not. Quote, the business case for final assembly in any region must be far larger than what the Indian market currently supports, end quote. Quote, it requires many more airplanes than are being bought in India today, end quote. So to me, this basically seems like, hey, we're interested in this, but we really need some more. Or it's almost like a carrot and the stick trying to coax some more orders here. I wouldn't necessarily view this as bad news on the surface.
No, I don't think it's bad news.
Yeah,
we want to make sure the demand is still there when we get this up and running.
Yeah. Now, as far as the actual chart goes here, I definitely don't want this to break down through 180. You can see the move off this 137 bottom. This was a real strong move, and it stopped right up here. I guess 180, 181, we could call it. We've kind of jostled around here. I'd really like Boeing to kind of complete this formation up towards 200. I really want to see it test the 500. I know we might not get through the 500. That's at 192.94, by the way. But I would like to see this finally push towards 200. You had mentioned your trade in there. Just as a reminder here, I took the Boeing March 200 calls. I'm still in that. I'm up 30 cents on the calls. So not a whole lot. This was actually up much more last week. It's really kind of pulled back a couple of days in a row here of some negative price action. But what I'm looking for right now, Ryan, I really want this to hold 180. I think as long as we hold 180 here, we still are on track for our path up to 193 and then maybe 200 past that.
For me, Boeing needs to hold 175, and that's fine if it wants to come back in and test that support. But 175, it can maybe trade a little bit underneath it, but that area is where we're going to need to hold up. At the very least, we can't be going and trading underneath the 50 and 200-day SMAs again. So I would like to see it hold up around 175 before we make this move up through the 500-day SMA.
Mike here saying BB couldn't find the tickers. Can you guys? You're looking for the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac tickers, right? FNMA and then FMCC. These are both up, by the way, recently. These charts look exactly the same. Yeah, we can find them in here. I'm not sure what you were asking, but we have no problem finding them here, Mike. We got no problem finding them there.
I'm just going to cycle through some of the movers we're looking at today, see what's holding up here. Looks like DOMH, that's coming in. BNAI, that's coming in. Nokia sideways. Same thing with Cooler. Summit sideways after dropping. LAES, this looks like it's trying to not go lower, but I think it just may. It just doesn't look like a great chart right now. CDT testing at 65 EMA, it could end up losing that and going down to the 200 EMA on the 5-minute. MNTS trying to turn around and recapture some of these smaller EMAs on its way to test to VWAP at 515. I don't know that it's going to recapture VWAP, but keep an eye on MNTS. Root about to break the pre-market high. MNDY sideways. Mobileye may lose VWAP. NLSP, it still hasn't broken beneath the 65 EMA, but if it can continue to hold up here, it might turn around. Not sure about NLSP.
Real quickly here, Carmen, going for your comments here regarding RCAT. I know we were asked about RCAT earlier. RCAT down here just about 3.5% here today. Carmen saying the CEO comments on Sunday, quote, big week for RCAT. Stay tuned and log in for the webcast at the TD Defense Conference. Now, that TD Defense Conference, we talked about this last week, if you recall. We got a PR on Tuesday about this last week. That conference is taking place starting tomorrow. So February 11th through February 13th. Now, it looks like Thompson's presentation here, right? This is the CEO. Yeah, CEO Jeff Thompson. The presentation will be 1:20 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern and track 2. This is the 12th. Okay, so this conference starts tomorrow, Tuesday, but his presentation is midday Wednesday. That would be, maybe there will be some front running on that, but if they are actually expecting big news, as the quote that you are posting is saying, this would be one of those conferences to watch.
They also have another investor and analyst day on the 27th of February from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Okay, so you've got multiple catalysts then this month for this stock.
Yeah, so if you don't get the movement you're looking for, on this next presentation, maybe that analyst and investor day has a little bit more something for you.
Okay. Okay, good stuff there. And then earlier here, I think it was Ivan. Ivan, you were saying EA calls are starting to print, fingers crossed. Okay, a couple of things here. First of all, I'm glad that a number of you are mentioning EA because this thing has pretty much been straight up since we talked about it. And it sounds like you guys are getting paid, and that's great. But there are a couple of things that I want to remind you here real quick. Remember, this trade, this is the third leg of this trade for me. And each consecutive leg was done using profits from the previous leg. So even if this trade just turned around and got obliterated, I'm still going to be up. I'm using house money in order to play this. You folks might not be with that, and that might affect then how you're trading it. So keep that in mind here. The other thing that I want to mention is, while I'm glad that I'm trading this and I'm commenting on it every day, and it seems like you folks are making money, I would be remiss if I did not remind you folks that Mark Petrino was one of the reasons this was even on my radar. We talked about that being a stock of the day here on this show. Shout out to Tom from our happy hour program, who also helped put this on the radar. So as much as I want to sit here and pound my chest and take credit for this, the reality behind the curtain, this was a setup that I kind of learned from the community. Maybe not learned, but I was kind of alerted to from the community. They pre-announced, they got crushed, they held 115, the chart looked appealing, we took the trade, the trade's working. So it's great, but just understand all of the different risk parameters that are in there. I am looking to lighten partial of the position here today, and I would love to keep a trailer on in case this thing tests 140. That trailer, by the way, remember the contracts I have are in March, 39 days till expiry. That trailer, even if it were to go to 0, I wouldn't miss it. So keep that in mind as well.
So let's see here. Izzy had mentioned that a firm announced a deal with the Dental Association that could be huge. I have a little bit of concerns about this because, maybe it's just the way I've been doing it. But, when it comes to like medical or dental bills or whatever the case is, I don't recall if them ever having some kind of interest attached to their medical bills. And of course, if you pay with a credit card, well, then you are attaching interest to it. Now we're talking about a buy now, pay later situation for paying dental bills. I already don't like buy now, pay later. I think it's a brewing problem, and this could just exacerbate that. So it could be great for a firm. I don't disagree with that. I just think over time we're going to find out just how good or bad this option to do buy now, pay later with your dental bills is going to be.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate here, just for the sake of going on both sides. I am not an Affirm fan, and I don't own it. Full disclosure. Given what Jay was saying earlier about how some of these spends are up and things are looking pretty good and all of that, I'll say that on the surface, this to me seems like a good thing, right? This is another way in which you can pay for dental work, which should have health benefits long term. Now, you bring up a really fair point about whether or not those bills can get paid or if people are going to abuse this, so on and so forth. But I would say on the surface here, this is probably a good thing. This just gives more flexibility to the patient for how they're going to pay for some of that work. Mm-hmm. But you do bring up a fair, I don't know how this is going to end up. I'm very skeptical, just like you are, of buy now, pay later stocks. And I would almost say that my own personal bias is probably playing into that. Mm-hmm. Probably playing into the way I feel about that. Anyway, interesting stuff nonetheless.
And I feel that way too a little bit, so you may want to take what your thought on it with a little bit of a grain of salt, and also seek other opinions, because we might not be giving the fairest assessment of the buy now, pay later theme.
If I have a strong bias, I want to tell you up front so that you can factor that into your own calculus. I can't change my own opinion, but I can at least alert you to where I'm coming from, where my opinion is being formulated. Yeah.
And to your point, Izzy, yes, they are expanding their business. That I did kind of preface that with saying, it's going to be good for a firm, but I just, over the long term, I just have major concerns about it. And then just to move on from that, Srikar Reddy was asking thoughts on EIX. Well,
that's a trade that, but make it quick because we're almost out of here. But this is a trade that I'm in that's not working. I did take some 65 calls here for EIX. Those are going to expire worthless.
Well, I mean, we are probably coming down to a bottom now, because we have hit the 2020 or pretty close to the 2020 lows, and I was kind of eyeing that as a potential area where if you were doing options or whatever, the whole idea of the downside move here was on the fires in California. So. Now the fires are out. I think I would have been out by the time the fires were out. So might finally see this turn around, because remember, California does have a lot of state insurance programs to protect utility companies from lawsuits and things like that. So we'll see. Hey guys. So anyway, that's all I've got on EIX. Could be turning around. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, that's all I've got for today.
Yeah, this was a really good day, a really good way to start the week, folks. I'm in agreement with you. Yes, the Monday after the Super Bowl should be a federal holiday. We'll see if we can get an executive order that outlines that. Not going to hold my breath, though, for it. Nonetheless, really good start to the week here, capping off a pretty good Friday. We got Apex Trader coming up here. 13 and I will be back tomorrow. We got happy hour tonight. 13, wave goodbye to everybody.